is Monday, November 9th. There's a new article out there we got to talk about. Let's get it going.
K-Pro Cow Powwow. K-Pro Cow Powwow Wow. It's the K-Pro Cow Powwow Wow. They want to find the treasure, they want to find it now. They are K-Pro and they are cow. They're going over it and over it and
Monday,
over it
November
again. This treasure hunt created by Forrest Fenn. Sing it! K-Pro Cow Powwow. K-Pro Cow Powwow Wow. It's the K-Pro Cow Powwow.
Okay. How you doing, K-Pro?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. It is Monday, and it is cold in Las Vegas. We had a high of, I think, 58. And for Vegas, when it's usually 100, it's cold. All right. What is going on? What's up, Davio? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I have kind of a cool announcement.
All right.
Oh, and I shouldn't announce this before I talk to Indy. I got a wedding dress today, and it's kind of getting real.
Uh-oh. It's getting real, everybody. So we'll
And
talk
the
about
funniest part is when I called Mike and said I got a wedding dress, and he goes, "Oh, so you can show it to me when you get home." And I thought,
you'd have it.
"You're such a guy." I'm like, "No, it's on order 3 months, not 3 months. They'll get it to me right before." Anyway, it was a long day, and my daughter got a dress.
Low key 75 in Detroit today. That's all right. We're going to get to 70 next week. Yeah, that's good because that's like a major thing to get through for the wedding, right? Isn't that like
Yes.
one of those main things you gotta? Okay, so that's I've not seen it for the record. We're gonna wait, right? I get surprised the day of.
You get surprised the day of course. But it's funny because I got one of those wedding planners that you download the app, and it's like at the this month mark is when you do this, and so I download it and it says you have 92 tasks past due, because usually you have a year to plan. So, okay, there we go.
It's a lot to plan. All right, everybody. So we probably have some new people because of the breaking news article that was tonight. So if you don't know, me and K-Pro are getting married in January. It's going to be here in Vegas. It's going to be a big party, but we'll talk about that after. And Birdie, I did see you say, where's the link for the discounted rooms? We will show that at the end of the program as well. So, but for tonight, hey, dog. For tonight, Mr. Ben Wallace of the New Yorker magazine finally came out with his article on the Forrest Fenn Thrill of the Chase. And congratulations to Justin Posey, because the majority of it was about him. And I thought it was a good article about him. What do you think, K-Pro?
Yeah, and there's some controversy because we have to have some, everybody has it. It's not the New Yorker magazine. The New York outlet that they went in, we've been told, is affiliated with the New Yorker. I don't believe this is actually the New Yorker magazine.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah, I have no idea. I mean, so let's look at a link. So for everybody who doesn't know what we're talking about, in the description right there down below, there is a link to it. And wait, did I put the link to it? Yeah, I did. And that link takes you to nymag.com Intelligencer. So whatever that is. Yeah, I don't, actually, you're right. When you go to this article, it says Intelligencer. It says New York, but it says Intelligencer at the top. So I don't know if that's an offshoot. I don't know what that is, but yeah, wherever the article is, it's there because
Nomadic Madman. He was the person that was at the finale. He's been working on this for, I'd say, over a year. I've talked to him a few times in the last year. And yeah, so there you have it.
Yes, William, that link is still good. That is the article that everybody can read. Yeah. And Annie Oakley says, I read it right before the show. Good, because this is what me and K-Pro do. We provide a place for searchers, the searcher community, to come together and talk. So let's talk about the article. Make sure you guys thumbs up the video for having a place to talk about these such things. And super chat's on. If anybody's got a question, you just have to have me or K-Pro answer. And I'd probably say tonight, nothing's off limits. But yeah, that's one way you can do it. But we do look at the chat as much as we can. We look at the chat as much as we can. And yeah, we will answer all the questions there that we see. Eleanor, I don't know if Captain Marvel is here tonight. I'm sure if she does make an appearance, she will show up in the chat. So, okay. So a lot of us were interviewed. A lot of searchers were interviewed for this article. Like you say, this reporter was at the Forrest Fenn finale, right? I know he talked to Justin then because he mentioned it in the article. And I know over the phone, he's talked to a lot of searchers. And he kind of put out a little history of the chase. he touched on a couple different things. And then, of course, he touched upon what I believe was the final location that was found by you, Justin, and Cynthia, and Tucker the dog. And and then I was very interested to hear about this meteorite / treasure hunt thing that Justin might possibly do in the future. So I thought that was pretty cool. What was your overall thoughts, Kate Pro?
Well, the one really cool thing, and I think one thing that has been done over the years, is there's about 4 or 5 searchers that have been spotlighted in almost every documentary, and I love Cynthia. I mean, goodness gracious, she's awesome. But this was really cool to have a different searcher. So to hear more about Justin and kind of get a new kind of spotlight on a searcher, that was super, super cool. But then also, I'm interested. It's kind of like the whole solves thing. I know they went through a few of the solves and you could click on whatever. I didn't, just because to me, we're past that. But I know a lot of people still want to talk solves, where they went at the time and all that. I just think there's so many other things and they hit on some of them. They just didn't hit on some others. So I thought it was a good article. I mean, it's, I think some things, I think there were a couple of misinterpretations or misunderstandings. I think we'll clarify those tonight. But it was really cool to hear more about Justin, because he's just, I think, a good person. And hearing more of it is really, really cool. But that's my blabbity blab on that.
Yeah, and the other thing, which I don't think too many people know about this one, and I can't even remember where I found out about it at, but there was a podcast that came out today, and it has Ben Wallace, who is the author of the article, and a couple of other people, Stephen Ranella, Spencer Newarth. I don't know who these other people are, but it's a podcast, and this sounds like it's called the Meat Eater Podcast with Steve Ranella, and they talk about this article. They basically talk about the thrill of the chase in this article for about 2 hours. So I'm putting that link in the chat as well, and that was pretty interesting to hear.
Yeah, that was Cynthia posted. Cynthia posted on Facebook. She's at Justin's house, and that's what they were doing today, is listening to that podcast.
Oh, gotcha. Maybe that's where I saw that. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty. I listened to it today as well, and yeah, it was pretty interesting just to hear the thought process from those guys. Some of it was pretty funny too. Zara
asked, who gave the information of the searchers to the author? I don't know. I know that when I was asked, who else, I have gotten probably contacted by 20 or 30 different media outlets. Ben was one of the first that I actually talked to in more length. But I usually will say, here, contact, and I give 4 or 5 searchers. I'm assuming one of the main go-tos is Cynthia knew Justin. That would be my guess, but that's totally a guess. And I think as things developed, people just keep, it's like the game telephone, or getting maybe Cynthia gave them me and I gave them to Judd. That wasn't the line, but getting to Cow and Cow gave it kind of thing. That would be my guess. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And yeah, I changed my name to Thor. I didn't, that wasn't a discussion. And so maybe they assume that. There's a couple things that are assumed that may not be accurate, or just I interpret them differently. So we're going to go through those tonight. But yeah, a lot of people are like, that's so cool. You legally changed your name to Thor.
We had a dinner last week with searcher Dustin White. You guys should
go
to Facebook from the Oak Island podcast season premiere tomorrow. And he said, "Wow, is your name really Thor? Your last name's really Thor? That's awesome." We're like, "No, it's not." But we go by that on YouTube, just like my real name is not Cowlazars. I'm sorry to disappoint. And just for clarification, it does say this article was featured in One Great Story, New York's reading recommendation newsletter, whatever that means. So yeah. Yeah, all right. So I guess we can just go through it. Everybody's got a question or anybody wants to discuss, let us know. Kind of goes what?
I see you. Can you bring it up? We're not going to read it all, because if you read it all,
showing it shouldn't be a problem, is it? To show it?
Yeah, and actually, it's not under a paid wall, so I don't want to read the whole thing.
Oh,
I
it is
want
free.
To
yeah.
Hit the,
yeah.
Because like Christy Meep said, set some time aside before you start to read this article. It is definitely.
Yeah, we're not going to read the whole thing, everybody. We're just going to touch on some points. So the artwork is really cool. And basically, it goes to Justin how he grew up in Arizona, and that he wanted to be Indiana Jones. You know, he was into puzzles, he was into treasure. You know, who wasn't? The Victorio Peak treasure, which he talked about to us. And just so everybody knows, me and Capro met Justin at the World Series of Fenn last year, as many searchers did. And very nice guy. Him and his wife Jenny, they were there. Very nice guy. And yeah, we're glad we met him. He had been a long time searcher, but I think stayed behind the scenes a little bit. And at the World Series of Fenn, he decided to come out. That's the right term. And say hi to everybody. What's that?
Can you make it bigger?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know if you can, but if you can, it'd be great.
How's that?
Yeah, that's much better. Thank you.
Okay. So it just goes to how he grew up. He was Victoria Peak treasure, you know, treasure legends, Indiana Jones. We all know Indiana Jones. Then he heard about Forrest Fenn, as many of us did, right? Piqued his interest, got the book. Says he's a computer scientist working on complex software problems for a tech giant, which is pretty awesome. There he is with Tucker the dog, the bronze sniffing dog. He gives that backstory. I know a lot of people thought that was BS when they heard it, but I believe him. You actually saw the dog in action, and I believe him. I mean,
well, but not only that,
make that up. I don't understand why people didn't believe that's possible.
Do you remember on our marathon over a year ago, I think, Justin came on and he had a segment on here's my dog and here's what I've been having to do to train him. So he didn't make this story up in the last month. He had, it was a whole training process. It was fascinating.
And yeah, he's been on our marathon, one of the Forrest Fenn marathons we did. And that's right. He did tell us about that. And we were all like, wow, that's a great idea. You know, why didn't I think of that? That kind of thing. If you're going to go out and search, especially as many times as Justin has, or a Cynthia has. And, you know, I wonder if Cynthia's like, why didn't I ever think of that with my dog? She's out there with her dog over the years as well. I wonder right now, Justin and Cynthia are together. And I wonder if she's kind of like, son of a gun. I never thought of that. Okay. So then it gives the story of Forrest. We all know, everybody who's a searcher here for any amount of time, I think, knows the history of Mr. Forrest Fenn and his thrill of the chase. Doesn't matter who you are. It only matters who they think you are. Doesn't matter what the clues in the poem are. It only matters what they actually are. No, sorry. Okay. And we'll get to that part. So it's interesting. I thought, go ahead.
I was just going to say, a lot of people are talking about the meteorite. Justin, it was either dinner or breakfast, lunch. One of the times that we were sitting talking, he went over it in a lot more detail and how you get it appraised or send off. I think he did a show on Amy's show about it. It's fascinating, and that thing has to be worth a lot of money. So that's awesome. So, okay, keep going. Sorry.
I just thought it was interesting that the Benjamin Wallace gives the story from Forrest Fenn and how what a salesman he was. This Linda Durham, basically this Egyptian sarcophagus that Forrest had at his Fenn gallery, saying that it came from the British Museum, and she knew this to be fiction because she owned it. She had it X-rayed, and it was a mummified baby crocodile. And then Forrest Fenn had it. And when she pointed out the British Museum story was false, he became angry. He had no idea where it came from, she says. So I know people have complained a little bit about Forrest, but there was that aspect to him. He's a salesman, and he's going to tell the story that needs to be told, I think, to sell something, right? He was the maverick, and you only have to be right 85% of the time and all that.
Right. He was a salesperson, and he, in a non-negative way, said, sometimes you got to hustle. That's what he said to me. Sometimes you got to hustle. And that's how he depicted it. And he meant it in a positive way. He said, entrepreneurs is the new name for you got to hustle. You got to make stuff happen. He's like, some people do and get stuff done, and some people don't. And we have lengthy discussions because of all the things that happen with us in the search. And, you know, he did have some lines, but the lines, yeah. So, and some would say he crossed the line, and I'm okay with that because I think there's some gray area in some of the things he did. And that's kind of up to each of you. Some people said, once I found out he was a grave robber, I'm out. Great. That's exactly what you get to do as, you know, a person that's free to be a part of the chase or not. So
that's treasure hunts in general. This one happened to be a big one because of the prize, but it's treasure hunts in general. You got to look at what the treasure hunt is, what the prize is, the person who created it, and you make your own decision. Forrest had that P.T. Barnum, you know, aspect to him, and that's okay. For some people, it's not. We all have our own line. So, all right. So then we jump up to the 80s. He sold his San Lazaro Pueblo. The FBA raided his house, but he was never indicted. Forrest was just a rascal. Senior curator at the American Museum of Natural History. And it says objects were immortal to Fenn. He was constantly hiding them. He'd put a leaf in a book and sign it so that in the future somebody would find it. He cast a series of the heavy bronze jars to contain his unpublished autobiography. I wonder if that's the same one that was in the treasure chest. Buried them in the wilderness. As far as I know, nobody's found one yet. So, and then of course, cancer, and they don't mention it here, but he always said that it was Ralph Lauren that gave him the idea, because when he wanted to buy an Indian headdress in his den, Forrest said no, and Ralph was like, "Why? You can't take it with you." And Forrest said, "Well, you know what? If I can't take it with me, I'm going to try," or what, however the story goes. And he thought of leaving it behind for somebody to find. So, okay. And then Douglas Preston is mentioned in the story, which I thought was interesting, right? A lot of people thought Douglas was in on the find or had something to do with it.
Well, and I have to say something. Here's my first clarification. Ben was the one that told me that Douglas Preston didn't believe in the GPS solve, which I'm fine with. I have not asked Douglas directly. And then later, when he was interviewing me, maybe a week or two later, I said, "Well, when you talk to Douglas about this, did he not like the homophones aspect or the GPS?" He's like, "Oh, I never talked to him. He just said a long time ago he didn't think numbers were involved, like a year ago. So I'm just supposing he doesn't agree with your GPS solve." And I said, "Well, those are two different things." So there's a little bit of clarity. So when I told everybody Douglas, I guess, doesn't like the GPS solve, I didn't have the newer information of, no, that's his opinion based on some things that Douglas said before. He had not verified with Douglas that he was for or against our solve. And gosh, we're one of hundreds of thousands of searchers with a theory. So why ask about this particular one? I know it's getting some people really riled up still. It's just one person's opinion. That's it. That's or a couple people's opinion that they like that this particular theory. Anyway, I just wanted to chime in there.
And Czar asked, "Cow, are you 100% positive on the location in Yellowstone?" No, I cannot be 100% positive because there was no treasure chest there. Treasure chest was already found. I can be 95% positive. I'd say I'll leave 5%. And yeah, until the finder comes out with more information, whether it's anonymous or not, as far as I'm concerned, that's the solve. And we'll talk about that and why we believe it was shared here.
But we're not representing Forrest. We're not representing the family.
Not
we are
representing the finder, definitely.
It's funny because there was a panel of searchers that were having such an issue, and we have to be this GPS solve, and they all have different solutions. Well, why is it okay that we can have a wrong solution? Anyway, I'm not even going to go down that path. But I just want to say in general, a couple people's solutions, we're not jamming it down your throat. Here's what we think about it. It's kind of cool. I will not say 100%. It all sure seems to fit a lot of things, but if it's not your solve, it's okay. Don't be upset. Just breathe and move on.
Yeah, but not 100%. I mean, you can't. I mean, only one only one person knows 100%, and that's the people who were there, whether it was one or more person. So we'll see if more information comes out or not. And we've heard this before. Fenn was concerned how he would know. He pondered various strategies, including a document that would for $100,000. But then he says he removed it. At least this is according to Preston. The Codex is a very good story. If you haven't read it, Douglas Preston said this was based on Forrest and his treasure story. I like the book. And then Forrest said, "I think it'll take 900 years to find a treasure." Well, we know it took 10. And then in August of 2010, it's gone. I've hidden it. It's done. And that was the beginning. And then they go over a couple different solves that that Justin and Cynthia kind of had, right? Related. Yeah. And I don't know if we need to go over these or not, because it's just, Justin, the searcher, along with many others to try and figure this thing out. I think Justin was more methodical and had a lot more tools at his disposal than a lot of searchers. But beginning warm water salt. So they go through his theory. It's just funny how it says Jenny was supportive of, if less enthusiastic about her husband's obsession. So many couples that we've talked to, one is all into it and one is not. Or in the beginning, they're into it, but one slowly drifts away.
Well, I asked Justin how, because he won the award for the most boots on the ground. I think he had over 1,000, like different days he was out. And I asked him, well, how many did Jenny go on? He said about a dozen, and it was a blast with her, but I was like, a dozen versus 1,000. She was into it, but not at the same level. And I think that's most search couples. I'll say I was into Forrest Fenn's hunt more than you. You're into Beacon Star more than me. Yeah. So.
Yeah. And then he goes into the Today Show is what blew it up. Treasure chasers had now grown into a vibrant subculture, and I believe that's true. Weekend-long meetups in Santa Fe, Fenbury, Yellowstone, Function in the Junction, and Las Vegas, World Series of Fen, which is happening in January next year. Searchers came from all over: high school dropouts, PhDs, a California cannabis grower. I do not know who that is.
Oh my gosh, Mike, you do. You're just forgetting. I know who that is.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Actually, I probably do know who it is. Okay. For some reason, I keep thinking he was not in California, but at that time, I guess he was, right? All right. And then Desert Hermit, who lived in a cave, was Desert File, right? Yeah. David Klein. Oh, David Klein, the inventor of Jelly Bellies. There we go. John Wayne Bobbitt. Shout out to John, the one-time tabloid castrato. John was a searcher, like many of us were. Fenn estimates 100,000 people 4 years ago, and then 2 years later, 350,000. He said he received 13,000 emails and 18 marriage proposals from searchers. I wonder where Forrest Fenn's computer is as of this moment, but we will never know. New Mexico tourism authorities credited the Fenn hunt, along with Breaking Bad. Breaking Bad was a pretty good TV show, with driving a surge in visitors to the state.
Why would okay, we'll go. Remind me later. I don't understand the Breaking Bad, but I don't even know what that is. So
it's a television show that was based in Albuquerque, and it just brought a lot of people would go to the house where it was filmed. They would go to the locations where it was filmed. It was a bunch of seasons on HBO. I want to say, I can't remember.
I just wondered why they would come to. Okay, got it.
Yeah, got it. I think those landmarks became famous, like the pizza on the roof. Everybody who watched it knows what we're talking about. What's up, Dr. Fenn? Thanks. Yeah, you better be there. We'll see you. Okay. So, that's right, Redneck. I realized it when I read it. Yeah, puzzle cracker. I like how he put it. Puzzle crackers to the gold bugs. I want the gold, or I want to know what the puzzle was, and I want to know what the solution was. Posey, who readily called himself an eccentric, obsessive perfectionist. So were you part of this University of North Dakota, the psychologist that did the study about the
No, I spoke to him, but no. Yeah, I actually wanted to there's a different study that I wanted to publish, so I wanted to get his data, etc. And so I have spoken with him.
Okay. And he noted that 10% of the respondents from the online searcher community describe their involvement as a possible addiction. And I would definitely agree with that. And smaller percentage than 10, but there is a percentage, or just people that are drawn to this because they have some issues, whether it's personal issues, mental issues, whatever the issue is. We all have issues. It's just how we deal with them. So,
but if 10% have admitted it, think of how many people haven't admitted it, but their family would say, yeah, we've been dealing with some challenges with some searchers and their families that, some people are really having a hard time letting go of this. And so, but they would say, I'm not addicted to it. I just think about it every day. I'm still going boots on the ground. I'm still, it's just, yeah.
Nomadic Madman points out that Justin could crack a real whip, Indiana Jones style. I think at the World Series of Fen next year, there just may be a bullwhip that shows up. I want to set up Justin. I want him to put his money where his mouth is. I want to do a bullwhip competition up in the suite.
If he's saying it, I think it's true. So it could be like, yeah, bring it on.
Somebody bring a bullwhip. Anyway. And then we bring up Michael O'Connell, the semi-retired cop from outside Boston. Hello to Michael. Me and you both talked to him. Michael's a good guy with 2 master's degrees. He thought the 24 lines of the poem matched up neatly with a set of RV cabins in Yellowstone. So superimposing the poem over graph paper, removing all periods and apostrophes, Codebreaker Charlie style, he found the 2 longest lines in the poem were 31 letters each, which led him to the U.S. Forest Trail 31 near those cabins. Another searcher, Sasha Dent, she's a longtime searcher, had it solved inspired by the movie The Goonies that relied on translating words in the poem into Spanish. Fenn said that when the treasure was found and the location and solve were revealed, people would say, my God, why didn't I think of that? In my opinion, that works out perfectly to a latitude, longitude solution. But that's just me, guys.
But if you had a solve that was the Goonies and translating into Spanish, I'm not going to hate you. If you had a, whatever solve, we have heard so many solves, and they're all interesting ones. I just love hearing lots of solves and lots of different thoughts, but I think we're kind of past that at this point. But that's just for me. There's some people, I've heard there's a new channel starting up that's going to go over like different solves of different people. And I think, cool. More on you if that's what you want to focus on. If you want to focus your time on that, cool.
Right. And something I'll say this that came out of the podcast that I listened to is at the very end, they asked Ben Wallace if he was going to contemplate making a book, taking all the research and all the interviews he did and creating a book. And he said he went to his editor with that idea, but the editor said there is already a book from a major publisher in the works. That's all they said. No info other than that. But I believe they said it was, in fact, Random House, that there was a book that would be coming out. So that'll be interesting. I have no idea what the details on that are or who it's from, but a book about the thrill of the chase. And I think this is not a solve. You know, a lot of searchers come out with their solution in a book. I think this is a book that encompasses the thrill of the chase over the 10 years. So we'll see. We'll see.
We have Luli Bell that said, I was at DeLacy last weekend. It does not match the poem or GPS.
Well, then you weren't in the right area, Luli. I'm sorry, but yeah.
Maybe not the poem would be up for debate, but the GPS is it's a recognized.
Let me put it this way, and this is trying to be impartial. I don't think Justin Posey is the kind of person that would try and make something fit if it didn't. He's had many on the ground. He's had so many methodical ways of trying to figure out this thing. If he was there with you guys and he just like the very first day, he was like, this is not the area. And then we realized it was decimal degrees, which a pilot would use. And he's like, that's exactly it. I don't think he would misconstrue the numbers in any way. Go ahead.
Well, no, but if you even take that outside of what we published, the GPS is something that can be verified outside of, it's not like Justin came up with some, or we came up with some weird GPS. The GPS matches what we showed in our, like, I don't think you can, well, anyway, it doesn't matter. It's just funny.
Yeah, that's fine. You don't have to like it. Nobody's telling you have to like it, but the numbers are there in the poem. They're not contrived. They're not, in my opinion, everybody, it's just my opinion. So anyway, they lead you to a spot. Now, whether the treasure chest was there or not, you know.
No, but GPS, when you say led us to a spot, the GPS, whatever numbers you get, it takes you to DeLacy. The GPS, we can't change the GPS. Anyway, silliness. So
that's what I meant. The numbers are there and they lead you to a spot, whether it was a chest.
No. We had someone go there that says that is not the GPS.
Well, it depends what numbers you're using. If you're not, again, the numbers in the poem have been around for years in the community. People have been trying to figure out numbers from the poem for a long time. Well, why didn't they figure it out? Because they weren't doing it right. You know, you weren't doing it right. It's that simple. In our opinion.
Okay, let's keep going.
All right, let's get back to it. A woman named Stephanie, who ran the forum chase chat, believed the treasure was actually in Fenn's backyard. My theory was you could be north of Santa Fe if you flew around the earth. No comment on that. She published a book elaborating her theory that Fenn might be DB Cooper. And at one point, she found herself in West Yellowstone, Montana at 4 a.m. I think most of us know the story that have been around in the chase for a while. No comment on any of that either. It's just interesting how and I will say this, it's very interesting, not just her story, but many searchers' stories, how it leads people to a certain area and they are just 100% positive they're right. It's led to arrests. It's led to deaths, unfortunately. It's led to all kinds of things and even after the treasure is found and Forrest says it wasn't found in Wyoming. No, it was in Colorado. No, it was in Montana. No, not so much Montana, but no, it was in New Mexico. All I'm saying for me, Cowlazars, is those numbers lead you there. We're not trying to make it fit in any certain way, shape, or form. The numbers are there for all to see. What you do with them is
but you know what? I was reading somewhere, somebody sent me a link. This actually, it's in his backyard because you go around the world and you come back. It was confirmed because Forrest, before he died, got an ambulance back to his home and he always wanted to die at that special spot. So that confirms it. Breaking news. It was in Forrest's backyard. That's what that particular searcher believes to this day, because this confirms it, because he got an ambulance that went back. And it's like, you know what? I don't hate you, but I don't think I'm not going to hate on that. I'm just going to,
It's another.
chuckle inside a little. Some people should chuckle at our solve. Who cares? But I don't think it was in his backyard, and I don't think an ambulance taking it back. I think he wanted to be at home with his family. His family was important to him. Okay, keep going, Mike.
All right. So I think Mr. Benjamin Wallace just pointing out the different theories that are out there. That's all. We see Orion, and this is from a searcher named Matt DeMoss, Smell the Sunshine, right? You have to be mindful that the human brain is great at making connections. That's true. I definitely believe. We see Orion's belts in the stars. It's easy to make connections that are not there. That's true. And then again, just goes into different things. And then the people, unfortunately, that have passed away. We know those stories. Don't look any place where a 79 or 80-year-old man could not carry a 42-pound box. But here's the part where some people say maybe the line gets a little blurry. Forrest would respond to emails. He regularly went into Collected Works, a Santa Fe bookstore that was the sole seller and sole recipient of its proceeds. Fenn said he didn't want to profit from it, signed books, and he chatted with searchers. He attended some of the larger meetups in Santa Fe. Jenny Kyle, Mysterious Writings, was driving through Santa Fe. He invited her and her husband to explore San Lazaro. I did find an arrowhead, and I'm sure Forrest planted that. That's pretty funny. That goes back to Barnum, right?
Yes.
So yes, Forrest did talk to people, and some people he talked to more than others. And guess what? That was Forrest Fenn's right to do what he wanted to do, in my opinion. So then we get through. Then it gets to then a little bit of positivity was the Jamie Jordan. The California house of a searcher named Jamie Jordan burned to the ground, and we held a raffle. It raised $60,000, including a $10,000 match by Forrest, allowing Jordan and her husband to move to Mexico and put a down payment on her new home. And I hope those two are doing great. And yeah, everybody did come together for that weekend in Santa Fe. I met K-Pro there. Met Forrest Fenn for the first time, met all the searchers for the first time. So that really was a positive thing. Then he goes into some of the other deaths. Meanwhile, Posey was developing a secret weapon. This is where he talked about the dogs. So Ore dogs trained in Finland, Sweden, and Russia in the 60s were used by geologists to detect mineral deposits. And the dogs could supposedly sniff precious metals buried up to 40 feet underground. Wow, that is crazy. I never would have guessed 40 feet. I would have guessed.
Yeah. Well, and I want to read the chat as we go. You guys can believe your solves and others can believe theirs. Don't knock anyone for thinking different. Maybe someone else is correct. We don't know. That is exactly our point, because I can't. Right now, some people are so angry that we have a solution that we believe in, that there is a lot of hatred, just a lot of negativity. Take us as two people. If you don't believe in a Bible solve and you don't believe that it's in someone's backyard and you don't believe ours, put us all in the same category. I don't think there needs to be as much emotion. Just believe your solve and we'll believe ours. And here's the cool part. I think everybody solves, if that works for them and it makes them happy, I think that's awesome. I don't judge people based on their solves. I'm not going to listen to all of them. And I know one of the searchers are really angry that I wouldn't listen to his solve, and that's the reason that there's some negativity. I just can't. I don't have the time to listen to solves. That's all. And it doesn't make me right at all. It makes me maybe I'm wrong, and let's just chalk it up. Okay, I might be wrong. Let's move on to a different topic. And especially when you focus on the personal side of people, you just don't need to do that. In my opinion, that is just my opinion. I get the same right as every other searcher to have a wrong solution, and it should not be so upsetting in your life that it brings such hatred and negativity and all of that. But that's just me. That's just my opinion.
I'll just clarify this. T. Brown says, wait, you believe in the GPS solve? I thought it was just for your show. To be honest, it's not our solve. We were presented with many solves over the years. When the Forrest Fenn treasure was retrieved, we got sent many solves. This is the one that we have decided makes the most sense for us. That's all. So this is not our solve. Don't think we created it. There's a whole backstory, which we'll get to at the end of this article, that we were sent to, it was sent to us by somebody else. And because of the way things went down, this is the one we believe is correct.
Well, and some people called it Justin's solve. Justin's in the same boat as us. This was not his solve. Now, he was close by, so he was kicking himself. This wasn't Cynthia's solve. This was out of the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds we were sent. This is the one we believe. It is not what we developed. It is not what we studied for years. It is not what took us to the treasure. We have not seen the treasure chest.
Yeah, we do not know who the finder is, any of that stuff. So anybody who's intimated anything differently is wrong. And just because your solve's wrong doesn't mean mine's right. It's just a little saying I say.
Yeah.
Okay. So now the Great U.S. Treasure Hunt, which we all know comes out this Friday, $7.77 on Amazon for $40,000. The odds of coming up with GPS coordinates that land not only inside Yellowstone National Park, but on an easily searchable area of Yellowstone are so astronomical that it's impossible not to believe it. And I would also say that it's so close to Isa Lake, which is the Continental Divide, which could be where warm waters halt.
Well, and somebody else was really upset that we would make up 9 clues. So I believe, this is me. So the GPS is there. The GPS was what was shared with us. Mm-hmm. I believe, this is just my opinion, and I'm nobody. I believe there is a corresponding, because of when he said there's an exact location and there's a general or a exact solve and a general solve. My personal belief is there is 9 clues. That doesn't mean I make it up and I'm just doing it for clicks or whatever. I believe Isa Lake. I believe these fit. When you get to Dry Creek and there's no paddle up your creek, it's like, could that be a coincidence? But that didn't come from anyone other than me and Justin, and Cynthia sat and started going through it, and gosh, it made a lot of sense. But you couldn't have gotten there without that GPS. No one was going to stumble across that ever, in my opinion, which is worth nothing. 2 cents, and it's not even worth 2 cents. Okay, keep going. Sorry.
All right, let's get back. Tucker was able to sniff it out. Okay.
Tucker, and I do have to say, Tucker is a high energy of dog, and he's so down to earth. But you could not be in the truck without him wanting to be in the front seat, laying backwards with his head that way on your lap, like I'm in control of my world. He was the coolest dog. Okay, keep going.
I didn't realize that Posey and his friend Young had talked about latitude and longitude. They've talked about homophones. Is that correct? This was a theory that they tried to look at prior to us getting the numbers in that?
I know a little bit of it, and I don't know the rest. So Justin pulled up what his... So he had a device, and he had everything on his device. He was very techy. He had a device for everything. If I got lost, I had a little beacon on me. It was awesome. He showed us, he's like, look, this is what I was going to do this year. And he had different like strategies that he was going to try to, I think he always did like a reboot. He always wanted to think differently each year is how I took it. And it said GPS coordinates. And he's like, I was going to look into that. And I don't know about the homophone part. And he may have told me, I just forgot, but he definitely, and he'd been in that area. So he kind of was kicking himself more than us. That's just a little trivia on our discussions, but he had been to DeLacy. He kept walking and went to the lake. But he'd been to DeLacy, and he was going to be working on GPSs, which is pretty cool.
Annie Oakley says, Isa Lake sure sounds like isolate. It was in an isolated location. Mic drop. Like that was a hint from Forrest. Isolated, isolate. That's interesting. Great U.S. Treasure Hunt says, how did Posey meet the New York Magazine reporter? Was that at the finale? Is that where he met him for the first time?
I don't know. No, I think he was talking to him beforehand. I don't know that for sure.
But they did meet there in person, right?
Cynthia was the one that referred, I think, Ben to me however many months ago. My guess is Cynthia did the same. I think they'd been talking a while. I don't remember all the details. I do remember Cynthia and Justin both told me this is a good guy. Some things get spin sometimes, so I'm really hesitant in talking with reporters. They're like, he's a good guy. Let's, you got to talk to him. They had both talked to him by the time we were going up, and I had already talked to him once. I just don't know. And that's the short answer. I don't know.
And then they get into Forrest saying, what if there's not a legal question about land ownership? Now, if the Lacey Creek solve there is is correct, I don't know the legal ownership issue, the land issue. It's Yellowstone National Park. I can't answer that. Yeah, maybe Forrest found a way. That's all I can say. I don't know. I can't answer that. I can't answer it for anywhere the treasure chest was found because I'm not the finder and I don't know. Right? I
will tell you, I have some information, I think, but that is part of the way. So now there's some shenanigans of a few people emailing me that they are the finder. There's about 3 things that I believe I know. If you go by this, oh, it was my GPS solve, and you know, I know all of this and that, I'll say, what was the one unknown item that was not shown in the pictures?
So there is something held back for this very reason, in case somebody would say, I'm the finder, will then tell us the one thing we have not shown publicly.
Yep.
This comes from the source. Go ahead. Just want to make that
Second
clear.
was how it was hidden, how it was concealed. And the third is how did you get around the legal issues from the land standpoint? Because at first glance, it looks like there's some legal issues. And I believe those three things, if you were able to answer those, I think I would believe that you are the finder.
But you haven't heard acceptable answers for anybody up to this point. Is that correct?
Correct. I haven't had, and acceptable just means to me that would match the other information that I believe I know. It doesn't mean I do. It doesn't mean that the finder, the source, anybody was actual. But if you claim to be this GPS solve person, in my opinion, you should be able to answer those three things. The easiest one is just to show additional pictures. But yeah. Are you saying that you have another picture? No, Godelkin, we have other pictures. Yeah, there's a lot more information that we have that this is enough. It would just add to additional things. But yeah, we have additional information and additional pictures. Yeah.
Because I can, says K-Pro, I gave you something that was roughly 1,000 feet from the GPS solve with a blaze that resembled a Forrest Fenn doodle and no response. K-Pro, why do you hate people? Why do you hate searchers?
Okay, so today alone, I've had 2 searchers very struggling a lot. And I know, and I'm so sorry, I have not been able to give the time. And because I can't, I know you have sent me a ton of stuff. I have not been able to read through it all. And unfortunately, I think you get frustrated by that. And sometimes you say some things that worry me, that makes me back off a little from wanting to read. I can tell you I haven't read all of it because I think you're so eager in wanting me to read it that sometimes it comes off in a way that I just can't get to everything. I have
and
life that's hitting me, and I apologize for it, but I'm trying to, it'd be really easy. And that's, some people say I'm really short about the finder. If you say that you're the finder, great. Give me a couple of those answers and that's it. And I'm not trying to be like pompous of you have to prove to me. I'm just saying there's so many solves that I'm sent and so many people. Well, we had dinner last week, Mike and I, and there was a searcher that I believe I've helped out a lot. And he called me and he got me at the wrong time because he did some things that I wasn't okay with. And you probably know who I'm talking to. And I was sitting at the dinner table. I had 5 minutes and he apologized because he kind of turned on me when he said he wasn't going to. And I said, I know what you're going through. I'm done. I just need some space. And it was a really hard conversation, but it's what I needed. So I apologize to everybody right now. I'm planning a wedding. I have a dad in a hospital. I have his and hers kids. I have add on to that a bunch of other things I'm not going to say. Anyway, I'm just telling you, I try to get through everything. The easiest way is if you sent me a picture with you in the treasure chest and it was legit, it'll get my attention. Mike, you tried to get my attention on this GPS solve for a few weeks and I just didn't.
You're like, yeah, whatever. Yeah. So anyway, T Brown, I will put it to you like this. This is just my response to your comment of you had a blaze. It looks like a Forrest Fenn doodle. Yes, you do. And there's somebody else that has a blaze that an aerial view of trees look like Forrest Fenn's hat. And somebody else has a blaze and somebody else has a blaze. The list goes on and on and on. How do you pick which one's right? For us, for me and K-Pro, somebody in our opinion said, it's not our opinion. Somebody told us there'll be news next week because I know who found it. And that news came out the next week. That's why we went back to that email that was sent to us the night the treasure chest was found, June 6th, and went, oh, maybe we should look at this again. And then once we realized those numbers were in the poem, and once K-Pro made the boots on the ground with Cynthia and Justin, and we realized the proper way to read the numbers, it leads you, it all made sense. And trust me, if somebody said, but there's going to be news next week and news came out, but their solve didn't make any sense, we would have discarded it. Me and Kate, it's just me and Kate Pro. It's just our opinion.
Well, but here's
But
the
it
cool
just started.
part.
You know,
Someone said a year ago, and they started a really not nice channel about me because I wouldn't listen to their after their WWWH wasn't water. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying there's only so much time in the day. And I particularly want to focus on, at the time, I believe WWWH was water. So all of that aside, it's just our opinion. So I'm trying to keep up. I'm trying to keep things balanced, though. So I apologize to everybody for not getting to everything. I think there could be more. I think if this was my full-time job, it would be a lot easier. Anyway, I'm just going to say all of that for now. That's the pieces that, so we're trying to get more, and yeah, keep going, Mike.
So as far as the land ownership question before we went on this tangent, I don't know, you know, wherever the land was, you know, whoever solve out there, you think you're right, answer the land question. You know, I don't know. I can't answer. Can't answer
Oh,
that.
I totally think I know, but I want to save it to.
Why don't you say?
No, it's one of the three things that I want to leave for the finder.
Wait a minute. You're telling me you think you know how legally the finder would have ownership of the chest found in Yellowstone National Park?
Uh-huh.
And you never shared this with me.
You and I have the same information from the source, or pretty much, because we talk sometimes, occasionally.
Oh, I have to miss that because I totally missed that. Okay.
I have some theories about it. It's not exact, but it would be.
Right?
You have some. Both of us have some detail. I have my opinions based on it. So there you go.
All right. Someday I'll get it out of her, everybody. Maybe at the World Series of Fenn. There'll be some discussions going on in that room.
Oh, and someone asked if the Shy Guy is invited. Shy Guy, you're invited to the wedding if you would like to.
Oh, yeah. You're invited for sure. Just bring proof. That's all.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Posey got another idea from poker. Hashtag World Series of Fenn. Facial micro expressions can be tells. So he developed a machine learning algorithm that could scan video for anomalies in pupil dilation, eye focus, and eyebrow movement. And he did all this with Forrest Fenn's interviews, which is crazy. And he says the software picked up on these things when Fenn was talking about Wyoming. So before the GPS solve, Posey redoubled his efforts there.
Well, here's something crazy. He told me about this. So basically, and he actually, I believe he said, and hopefully I'm not wrong, or that he actually told Forrest. He told me, I think, that he told Forrest, because here's one of the problems. He said he was worried that a searcher with this kind of technology would put a map in front of Forrest of all 4 states, and where his eyes go would be disproportional. Yep. And then they could figure out the location. So he was trying to Forrest, you don't understand technology. I didn't. You don't understand technology and how just looking at something, it can scan to, oh, you're right here. That's where Wyoming is. And it would have given away Wyoming. Crazy technology. Crazy.
Right. So, talk about a gadget, George, right? Oh,
yeah.
The Waterton Lake.
I dipped my toe in Isa Lake, I will tell you, and it was cold. That's why I don't like it. So did Forrest get one over on me by the dipping your toe? I have no idea. I'm looking for, or I was, and I haven't been able to get back to it. I am focusing more on maybe a hot spring that's right near Isa. Okay, go.
So now we get into some of the negative aspects of the chase. This part of the article talks about the people that have died. It talks about Fenn's family suffering directly, the Nevada man that was arrested for stalking his granddaughter, the axe man, the guy that broke into their compound there, into their house with the axe, the searcher who was particularly convinced the treasure was buried alongside his parents. Please don't dig up my parents' graves, Forrest said. He was also the target of an extortion attempt demanding he pay in Bitcoin. Oh, I would like to have been there when Forrest asked what the hell is Bitcoin. Then came the lawsuits. Last December, Colorado searcher sued Fenn for $1.5 million in Albuquerque court, claiming Fenn had defrauded him by giving misleading clues. Second litigant, a young Wharton graduate, filed an intervening motion attached to a Baroque solution, Baroque, to Fenn's puzzle, which he insisted was correct. Baroque, right?
Baroque? Yeah, broke. I don't know.
Whatever. Not broke, everybody. Virtual treasure, intentionally absent. Again, all these people had their ideas, which is their opinions, but some people decided to go to court and try and make those opinions have some legal standing. Now, there was also disharmony in the community as well. And this is where I guess me and K-Pro might be involved a little bit. A growing number of posters on Chase Chat accused Fenn of orchestrating a hoax. This is not the part I'm talking about. A few female searchers claimed Fenn had dangled the promise of hints to get them to send him revealing photos. He has denied this, and one forwarded him a screenshot where Forrest said, "Are you spoken for?" And then she sent him a photo of herself in a bikini, commenting on the tattoos on her breasts. I don't really see the issue with that. In other words, the person sent them a picture. But anyway, the searcher sent them a picture. But anyway, I don't know. I don't get that one. I'll leave that alone since I don't know the details. But here we go. Christy Thor and Mike Cowling started selling Fenn-themed items, including coins and a board game called Chaseopoly, the Thrill the Chase board game, as well as running, wait for it, dramatic music, an ad-supported YouTube channel. Well, it is true that we are the only searchers to have an ad-supported YouTube channel. Isn't that true, K-Pro?
Yeah, that was, and I actually, this part was actually provided by a different searcher, and it was right before the fact finding, right before the publication. They said, "Can you confirm this? Because we're going to have it in here." And I did confirm some of it. I was asked for some counter emails from Forrest that would change kind of how this is depicted, and I just declined. I just thought if that's what you want to include on some of the other parts. So I did say we're one of many channels that are ad supported. I told them I never sold coins. They said they liked how it was worded, so that was a little off, because they're like, "Oh no, you had 1,000 coins," and this. I said, "No, that was Mike before I knew him." And I did tell him the funny story of I tried to get some additional ones and he said no. And I did also say, they said, well, they had the email about Forrest not wanting to sell, or Mike, this evil guy, was trying to sell more coins, and Forrest said no. And I said, yeah, do you know why? I said, here's the reason. Oh my gosh, where's my tattoo? I don't have a tattoo, Charles. That wasn't me.
And for the record, I never sent revealing photos to Forrest. That out there.
Mike's position, and you guys, I think, really need to understand this. Mike's position was, I want everybody at $15 to have a coin. I think it would be cool if everyone had one for their boots on the ground. Forrest is the one that said, no, if you limit him, the price is going to skyrocket. It becomes a collector's item then. And that's why they were going for $800-900 up on eBay. So in Mike's position, I think that's why I think he's a good person. He wanted everyone to have one on the cheap that everybody had accessible. And Forrest was the one that said, no, let's not continue to sell them. Now, some people have said, well, wait a minute. That means Mike was trying to sell more. Right. To get out to everybody. That's all.
And the Great U.S. Treasure Hunt says a lot of people went baroque looking for the treasure. Thank you, Great U.S. Treasure Hunt. So yes, I did in fact make a coin with Forrest permission. I had a design contest with Forrest permission, made those coins and sold them with Forrest permission. It's interesting that
the room's kind of going crazy, guys.
It's interesting that email. The article makes it sound as if the email just went to me and you. That said, hey, you can't, I don't want anybody making money. That's not true. It went to a bunch of people because it was, I believe, some other people that had the issue. But again,
right. And they were
two stories, right?
Yeah. And I think I did note to them, some of the people that had the issue were the ones that were selling other things that Forrest had approved. And so it just went back into a ridiculous place. I'm like, there is so much more here to this story. I'm hoping reporters don't focus on was the coin or Chaseopoly or whatever. That's a 1% of this entire hunt. I just find it silly, but keep going.
So, and the other thing I'll just say is this, and I'll leave it alone. After the whole coin, awesome thing that it was, after the coins were done, then he let us do the board game. So I'm just wondering if he had an issue, then he let us do a board game.
But wait, he had us come and do a documentary.
Yeah. And he allowed us to buy his map collection and sell those. But anyway, that's not the point. The point is a lot of people said, well, you're taking advantage of an old man. He has a hard time saying no. Forrest just can't tell anybody no. He really doesn't want you to do these things, but he won't tell you no. This is the P.T. Barnum that sold the,
Yeah.
this is the guy. You telling me in his Fenn gallery he wouldn't be able to tell people no? In other words, it paints two pictures and they don't reconcile. I don't think anybody was doing anything that Forrest Fenn didn't want them to do.
He
You know what I
did
mean?
want the drama to go away. I saw the email
That's why
beforehand.
the email was sent. He wanted the drama to go away.
Right. And he said to me, this just helps them because they think I'm completely like, it just settles them down. I'm dealing with my own stuff with those particular people. The drama was so high. He's like, can you take one for the team on this one? And just let's
Right.
keep everything on the down low.
Which we
And
did.
I was like, okay, cool. Like, yeah, like nobody knew about the documentary beforehand. Why? Because, or the filming,
Oh.
because he was like, oh, it's going to cause drama. Like
Hundreds
when I
of
went to his
emails you've
house,
gotten. Yeah.
like the 2 weeks before, this is the funny part, the 2 weeks before he passed, or 3 weeks, however many weeks, when I was at his home, he didn't want anybody to know because he's like, there's some people that are so fixated. Anyway, so that is why I declined clarifying anymore, spending any more time, etc. So this paragraph is technically correct in parts of it, like the part about there was an email not to commercialize, but that was just more to help the drama, in my opinion. And I had counter emails. I am not somebody that's going to be publishing Forrest emails to say I'm a better friend. Everybody was a friend. He just liked people. So, okay, that's enough of that.
And CJC says, let it go in all caps. Oh, we have. A long time ago, we let it go because we know the truth.
Right. But
Okay,
it's here.
That's enough.
It was all shared with reporters, and now we're discussing an article, and it's in the article. So, okay.
I never intended for the chase to be an avenue for people to make money or start them on a new career. Well, that's true. And nobody started a new career over to this. There's nobody.
Well, and that was actually what
over
Forrest and I discussed a lot. Like the coins, you didn't quit your job, Mike. Chaseopoly, we didn't get, but there is some people that is what they wanted in their life. And he's like, that was kind of a, I think, unintended message or a backhanded way to send some messages to some others, in my opinion. Okay.
And Forrest was concerned with legacy, in my opinion. The coin and the board game are there long after he's gone. And I think that's what he liked. And that's what he wanted to get out there in the world. Okay. But then Fenn at times seemed sick of the whole thing. Well, if you were getting 800 emails a day, I'd probably get sick of the whole thing too. His wife was 66 years, Peggy, was very ill, and he was feeling his age. More than once, he had Neitzel explicitly ask the community to stop emailing him. Then a fifth searcher died, apparently freezing to death near Dinosaur National Monument. And the search had taken a toll on Fenn's family as well. This is interesting. This is from Shiloh. It says, we all supported my granddad fully. Beyond the problems that went along with it, we within the family are all acutely aware of the major positive aspects of the treasure hunt. And what really touched me is when we did the Jamie Jordan drawing live on YouTube at the Collected Works bookstore, Shiloh and Mika pulled tickets. They were right there. And I think if they really disagreed with the thrill of the chase and the community and everything else, they would not have participated. And I even know you, K-Pro, you were like, Mika's going to be here? Really? Isn't somebody going to have a problem with that? And Forrest was like, Mika's grown. She makes her own decisions. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And I said, you are not going to tell them it was me, because I think it was, I don't think they didn't support the treasure hunt. They didn't support the intrusion in their life that this made.
Right.
I mean, Zoe's daughter was attempted to be kidnapped because someone thought she was the treasure to be held for ransom. Think about that. I have a precious daughter. I have a precious son. Mike has two sons. We have kids. He never thought that would happen beforehand. And so think about if you're the mother, the daughter, the grandkid, that had to be rough on the family. I'm not even talking about Forrest. It had to be rough on Forrest, but the family. I know they're weapons trained now. I know I was there the day that person got out of jail, and I know some details. It made such stress that it's really sad.
And I hate to say it, but it's the searchers that ruined the thrill of the chase. If the thrill of the chase got ruined, and some people out there are going to say, yeah, you too, from all your videos and what you sold. And that's fine. Everybody has their own opinion, but it's really searchers. If anything was ruined, it's us that did it, meaning the search community as a whole, and not even the search community as a whole, just a couple people that, I won't even go into it, but that's what, and I'm talking about the people that broke into Forrest's home or that, took precaution, did not take the proper precautions and died. And, it's just it's a sad thing. But when you get 150,000 people, you're going to get those people who don't know what they're doing, who are a little off mentally, who get obsessed, who get fixated. You know what I mean? Who have a good idea for a coin. Anyway, Richard Bird.
You know what? He told me
Yeah.
the two things that he hated about the chase was searchers dying.
Yeah, of course.
And the amount of search drama. It wore on him. He had one particular person that didn't like me that emailed him. He just said constantly, so many times, every day, constantly. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. He's like, but it was the same person that had issues with other people. And it was just sad.
Some searchers thought they had a right to tell Forrest how to do things.
Right. Like, why are you friends with Gabriel? He could be friends with me if he wants to, but it got so like I had to ban someone today because they were so upset that why would Forrest pick you to be friends with over anybody? He liked lots of different people. And yes, he's crazy for even wanting to talk to me, but it doesn't make him, you shouldn't email him 100 times a day to communicate that.
Right. Marty Bird says, somebody asks, is Justin Posey watching right now? Well, I know Cynthia and Justin are together in Texas, right? So I've got a feeling they're might be having a drink or two and not watching this, but we don't know. But then Marty Bird said Justin's probably signing a deal with Netflix right now. So I thought that was pretty fun.
Nice.
And Mike,
okay, mate. Yeah, and Mike Nodine, you could not have ruined the chase because you never searched. K-Pro on the other hand.
I like it. What's
up?
Now
the funny part is somebody said I didn't search enough in Wyoming that I can't give an opinion. Someone said, oh, and we need to talk about, we went boots on the ground. We found a different treasure this last week, which we're excited about. But that's the funny part. Like, if you haven't done more than, well, somebody said Cynthia can't put her opinion in. She didn't search long enough in Wyoming. It's like, we're all the same guys. We're all, except for the shy guy, we're all losers. We're all, and some people are saying no, because my salt's better and I'm going to file a lawsuit or whatever. No, we're all the same.
Dave's not here. Okay, here we go. Let's get back to the article. Positive aspects of the treasure hunt. And again, Mika and Shiloh were there for that drawing. So
yeah,
that's all I needed to know as far as how the family felt. Okay. For Posey, the search had never really been about the treasure. Now that's interesting. I know people have said that over the years, but
Well, and the only reason I believe Justin on this one, I think it was almost like a battle of wits to him, because as you can tell by his truck, etc., and he talks about another treasure hunt, I don't think he's a person of lower means. So I don't think it was as much about the treasure for him. I do think it's about the treasure for all of us. It was a battle of wits, I believe. Mm-hmm. A lot of other people, and me being one of them, it was about the treasure to me. That would have been life-changing. I don't think that treasure would have been as life-changing for Justin as others. Just looking at all the trinkets and stuff in his car and all of that, like technology devices and stuff. But I don't know.
But the way I read that is it's not about the monetary value. Of course, in other words, to get the treasure and to go through each of those items would really be cool. So when I say it's about the treasure, it's not about selling it. He doesn't, if somebody doesn't need money, that's great. If somebody has a lot of money, that's great. But just to go through those items and see what they are and catalog them. I wish Justin would have found it if he was going to rehide it or create a new puzzle, but that's all right. That's not how it worked out. Okay, he talks about his father. The Thrill of the Chase did bring a lot of people together. Copper Dan's mentioned in here, right?
John Miller, do you see what he says? I'm not a loser. I found you guys.
And hey, there you go. We're all winners on the Cowlazars channel. Thumbs this video up right there. Just thumbs it up. 18 people thumbs it down, and that's okay. June 6th, he and Jenny began driving from Austin to Montana. They stopped in an RV park near Amarillo for the night, and Jenny went to the office to pay. When she returned, her husband said her husband was in shock, and it was found. That was the fateful night. Me and K-Pro were sitting on the couch. I remember I was eating ice cream, watching TV, and K-Pro looked up and said, "It's been found." And I said, "What's been found?" I was
at the final table of one of the poker tournaments.
Yep.
And I was at the table and I said, "Everybody, I have to drop off. We're going live."
Yep.
And they're like, "What the hell? What's going on?" I said, "I can't say we had to drop off." And it was just like, what? And I gotten a couple emails from Forrest. We had a way to verify. So I verified it the other way. And then it was actually Davio. Davio's like, you have to call him. You have to hear his voice say it, or I don't believe
Verify.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in the middle of the show, that's what we did. I actually broke away and I talked to Forrest on the phone for maybe only 5 minutes. I knew he was getting lots of calls. It's one of the only times I've called him.
And it's only been 5 months. Tonight is November 9th. June 6th is when Forrest called it off because it was found, when he announced that it had been found. And I just remember you said it's been found. And I said, what's been found? I had no idea what you were talking about. My mind did not go to the thrill of the chase. You're like, the treasure's been found. And I said, what? And you go, Forrest just emailed me. The treasure's been found. And we were like, what? You know, it's just shock. It's all it was shock. Then we went live. It was emotional. It was, everybody was in shock, but we went live for like 3 hours that night. So, okay.
Well,
Posey
and the crazier part is,
he was in shock.
Yeah. Okay.
I do not know the person who found it, but the poem in my book led him to the precise spot. To me, that leads to a GPS solve. Precise spot, in my opinion. So the search is over. Look for more information and photos in the coming days. All right. Then we got the photos from Forrest that show the office, the items. Okay. He met with the finder to legally now talk about this, K-Pro, because I don't remember this. Fenn had met with the finder. He would later tell one searcher to legally convey the chest to him, but he was chary with details. Somebody, do you know this? Do you know who that searcher is? He told somebody he met with the finder to legally give it to him.
Bring it back up. I'm sorry. I want to see the exact words.
It says Fenn met with the finder. He would later tell one searcher to legally convey the chest to him, but he was chary with the details. I'm assuming chary means that he didn't give any details about that.
Yeah. So this was Cynthia, and she did it on one of her shows, Amy's show, our show, somewhere, that Forrest told her, because she met with him. She's one of 3 searchers I know that met with him after the find, but before he passed. So in that kind of short span. And her question was, how did this legally happen? And his answer was, remember this whole, he would hand it to me and I handed it back. So it's no longer lost. That's what I think that sentence is referring to.
So I wonder if legally, if in fact it was found in Yellowstone National Park, if in fact the finder drove to wherever Forrest was and said, here, and Forrest said, thank you, went through it and said, now I'm legally giving it to you. I wonder what Yellowstone National Park Rangers would have to say about that scenario. Just a question. But we will never know. Okay. Nomadic Madman says the precise spot is where the chest was, GPS or no GPS. That's correct. The chest was in a precise spot. But what the article says and what Forrest has said is that the poem led him to the precise spot. That's the key. The poem led him there. The poem in my book led him to the precise spot. And I don't think, and I guess you could try and say, but precise spot just meant where it was. But I don't see how those 9 ambiguous clues in the poem lead you to a precise spot. GPS does, but that's just my opinion.
Well, and Mike Nodine says, take a flashlight, a sandwich, and a GPS.
GPS.
Yeah.
Some searchers that talked to Forrest, he told them, make sure you take a GPS, which is just safety. But also it was maybe a hint to the way you find it is with a GPS. I mean, maybe. Okay. And then we all tried to recover. Again, this is just 5 months ago. Just 5 months. Okay. Shy guy from back east didn't want his identity or his solution revealed. Well, that's all I can say about the solution revealed. The finder wants me to remain silent. And I always said the finder gets to make those 2 calls here at who and where. And I will say this, Forrest did always say that the who and where would be up to the finder. It's not like he changed it after the fact. He also said he didn't think the person who found it would keep quiet. Well, in that regard, Forrest was wrong. The person who found it has kept quiet.
Well, and just because she referenced in here, Stephanie wrote somewhere, and there was an email from 8 years ago that said, I'll reveal everything, one day or something like that. So she believes he changed things. I don't know if the emails, I would need to hear that from Forrest. Yeah, I changed my mind and here's why. That was actually one of the questions, because we did have an interview scheduled, a follow-up interview. Had about 300 questions. That was one of them. I don't think he changed it until I see evidence otherwise. I think he always said the same thing, like Mike said, but there are some searchers that said they have private information now that they're revealing that kind of a generic email form that Forrest said, I will reveal it one day. So
Was
there
that
you
his
have it.
plan? I mean, there's no way to know. So.
Right. We can't ask him now. That's the hard part.
Okay. So now the treasure's found. The finder does not want to give up the solution or the location. Back then, we didn't have the location. So now the searchers are in a tizzy, and rightfully so. I think, in my opinion, the community was owed an answer to what's going on. The tribe of dot connectors and pattern recognizers began subjecting the scant photographic documentation of the discovery to relentless analysis. We're trying to know about the stick and the
That
dirt.
was all on Thor. I give some credit to different users there. They really went in it. But it was so much that it was overwhelming for the average person. Like I did so everybody, most of you probably know O did a analysis, and I did a Thor poll that said, how many of you believe that these photos were photoshopped? And like most people said yes, but I don't, it's too over, like, and why? And it just was so overwhelming, the evidence, because it was so technical. The technical people were like, yeah, kind of. We do believe it, but I just didn't, I don't know what to think.
Mike Nodine says the second finder of the correct location has been anything but quiet. Exactly. And we're going to address that when we get to it in the story.
Oh boy.
So now they go back to Douglas Preston, and Douglas says, I think he was genuinely disappointed and a little crestfallen that the treasure was found. He enjoyed the thought of going off into the unknown himself with the treasure unfound. He says he even asked Forrest outright, did the finder actually solve the poem and follow the clues of the treasure? And according to Preston, Forrest Fenn said yes.
Yeah.
I don't think Forrest would have lied to Douglas. Do you? And I think if Forrest would have told him, you know what, I ended it, I think Douglas, I don't know. I just don't think he would have lied to him. I think Douglas probably would have kept that secret if Forrest would have told it to him. What do you think?
Yeah. So there's always a 1% chance of me that says if Forrest pulled it, if it was, let's say Shiloh, he did it for some private reasons. I know there was craziness going on at the time. I don't think he would have told anybody if he did. So if by the 1% chance, the whole conspiracy theory is true, would he tell Douglas? I don't think he would. I just don't. I don't think he would have told anyone, but I don't think that's what happened. True. And I did think that for a while. I was like, I think Shiloh might have pulled this. I think it would have been Shiloh if it was anybody. So there you have it.
Okay. And then Forrest decides to come out and say the treasure was found in Wyoming. And some searchers were relieved and others were heartened they had gotten close. But this fueled more skepticism. How convenient that Fenn, who was being sued by searchers in New Mexico and Colorado, had in a stroke removed both locations as possibilities. Yeah, I mean, Cynthia Meacham says he gave me the best 8 years of my adult life. They compared notes at the World Series of Fenn. Another thing we do, we provide the venue to bring people together. I met people I'd never met. I drove roads I'd never have driven, and it's been such a hoot. I've made lifelong friendships. Yeah, and we consider.
Okay, hold on one second. Silver Fox saying, so you're saying there's a chance? I think that means that Forrest pulled it. Absolutely. I don't know anything 100%.
Yeah.
The one thing I can tell you is I went from almost more than 50% thinking Forrest had to pull this. Look at all these crazy people. To once this GPS and once there was enough information with additional information we haven't shared, that was enough for me to then go. And that was what was so crazy in my mind. I was like, I'll say 75% Forrest had pulled it. And then this GPS thing happened for me. And I went to 99.1 within a week's time. That my mind usually doesn't, I usually anchor on something and I don't kind of give it up. But I felt there was such compelling evidence to the contrary to the GPS solve for me. But anybody that wants to discuss did Forrest pull it, I think that is okay. I don't think you should act illegally or threaten to make your point or sue, my opinion. But I think there's some real discussion that needs to happen. There was a lot of stuff going on at the time that no one's talking about. At the time it was called, that it was over. So anyway, do either of you think Douglas had any idea of how to solve the poem or where the treasure was hidden? I do not now with some additional information. Douglas supposedly told Ben that the hint that revealed everything was he believed that the wording in our documentary footage was in a certain order. Like he said, BLM land and this land and that land. And he thought that was a hint. I don't think he knows. In my opinion, I think he knows more than he's saying. I don't think he knew the final location.
T. Brown says, I just want to say thanks, as I recall watching you and your boy share your info and opening the coins and the wheel. I'm assuming he means try the wheel. If you guys remember those videos, fond memories. Yeah, thank you, T. Brown, and thank everybody else who watched. The coins were for the Forrest Fenn community. I'm just the one who came up with it and took the risk of creating them, but it was for the community. They're out there in the community, and thanks to everybody who bought one.
Yeah.
I hope you have it on your treasure hunting bookshelf as we do, and you're proud of it like I am. So, okay. Davio says Forrest Fenn pulled it, left what behind? If he pulled it, he wouldn't leave anything behind, right? I mean, if he pulled it, he's not going to leave anything behind.
I don't think anything was left behind.
Physical object. Yeah,
I looked. There's nothing left at the location.
Okay, here we go. Meacham decided to put on one last event for searchers to gather and get some closure. I wanted to get out of the funk and have a party. There you go. And that was the finale. Okay, so the evening of Labor Day weekend, the Forrest Fenn finale. You were there, K-Pro.
Yeah.
It was there. Justin Posey was there, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. 4 dozen searchers were there. Two of them intermittently wearing a mask. Many had become friends over the course of the hunt and were now online poker buddies. That's right. And that's, I think, is the important part about the Thrill of the Chase community. There's a lot of friendships that have been formed over this thing. Some knew each other only by their forum handles, Geyser Girl, Windsurfer, Copper Dan, and were meeting for the first time. Christy K-Pro Thor was walking around taking smartphone video as she asked people questions such as, do you think the finder is here among us? Fenn at home in Santa Fe had offered to buy the first round of drinks. Do you want to share if the finder was there or not?
So, let me go back because during the fact check, I was like, I don't remember saying that. Do you remember it was Minotaur Marino? I said, guys, what do you want me to ask all the searchers? Minotaur Marino was in the room and he's like, there were 3 questions. And I went all the way around to everybody. And they're like, well, who's that guy over there? And I went over, I'm like, are you shy? And they're like, kinda, but I'm not that guy. So yes. They asked me if I was the person that took pictures of each person at the finale and sent them to Forrest.
Mm-hmm.
I was not. That was Cynthia and Indy. And Forrest responded to each one of them like, oh, you look too smart to be with that crazy group or whatever. Forrest told me later that was the way that he was trying to find out if the finder was there.
Because he met him. He met the finder. He knew what he looked like. So now he just wanted to see if they would show up. And he said.
But he said no. And I said, wait a minute. You only took pictures. You only had Indy and Cynthia take pictures at the park on that. I think it was Saturday. I said there were some people that were at Bullwinkle's the night before, and there were some people at different events that were not all at that one event. And he's like, what? And I said, yeah, I know of a dish.
He said what?
He said, what?
No, he said, what? Forrest Fenn said, what? So it's possible, basically, that they were there, just not at the event in the park. At least they didn't get their picture taken anyway.
Right.
And sent to Forrest.
Forrest and I had a lot of back and forth on, but I had video footage as well. So I referred him to that exact one that I was talking about at Bullwinkle's. And I said, there was a couple of people there that weren't at the one you're talking about. And he went, that was his way of trying to verify if the finder was there. Now, here's the thing. Let's not take that at face value. Why wouldn't the finder be communicating with Forrest that he was going to be at the finale?
Right. Yeah, I don't know.
So this is showing to me there's some strain, I think, between the finder's article and that. I actually asked Forrest and he never answered. Why wouldn't you just ask the finder? Are you guys not on good terms? And he never answered, because it tells me a lot if the finder was not. Forrest was trying to confirm independently if the finder was there. Gosh, that doesn't make sense unless they had a challenged relationship.
Yeah, and I wonder if it's just simply as the finder saying, I want to be anonymous. I don't want to solve out. And maybe Forrest tried to reason with him and tell him how he could do it but the finder wasn't having it. The finder was just like, no, that's it. So again, that's just speculation, but
Yeah.
someday the finder will tell us. Okay, I met some of my best friends through this. Dan Headbloom told me on the patio behind Bullwick.
Copper Dan.
He had a falling out with his father. Copper Dan and his father were at the World Series of Fenn 2 years ago, correct?
Yep.
Yeah, 2 years ago, and had an awesome time. Copper Dave was a lot of fun. I hope you can make it next year. His father was in the hospital. They didn't talk, and then once, of course, the Thrill of the Chase brought them together. Thank you for giving my dad back. And like a lot of people at the event, Headbloom revered Fenn, but even he had doubts about the whole thing had ended. Some of us put Forrest up here. And maybe you shouldn't be doing this because you never know. What if it was a hoax? You ever hear of a guy named Lance Armstrong? Lance was my hero. If you argued with me about him, I'd have gotten in your face defending him. And for those of you who don't know, Lance Armstrong did, in fact, take drugs for all those the things that he accomplished. So, and I agree with that. I mean, yeah, I agree with that because we don't know. The ending of the Thrill of the Chase is not satisfactory, in my opinion, in any way, shape, or form. Me and K-Pro, luckily, this source reached out to us, or just trying to give people some closure. Yeah, that's the only way we can put it.
Well, and you said something earlier of like we deserve something more. I don't think we did, but then this.
Oh, we do. No,
this ending is bad then, and I'm okay having those feelings. I feel it's okay if I have the feelings that this was bad. I told Forrest one time, I said, how long are we going to go before you think this destroys our legacy? And I remember he said something, actually, it's very clever. He goes, think about this 50 years or 100 years from now. Do you think if everything comes out, if everything comes out 6 months later, that it is going to tarnish the legacy? He's like, I know you searchers are so wrapped up into this, but that I didn't, or that everything's not being revealed day one is not going to matter in the big legacy of things. It was an interesting way to put it. It backed me off. He does that. Yeah. It was like, okay. So that this will be the one sentence rather than the drama 100 years from now. And let's just say Forrest didn't pass. The June 6th was the day it was announced it was found. And by December 6th, it was all the information was out. No one would really think that's an anomaly. To us, it feels really real.
If a year from now, a tell-all book comes out from the finder that explains everything, I would be okay with that. I just don't like it, but that's me. But yeah, I would, as long as it comes out at some point and sooner rather than later, meaning the next year or something, I would be okay with it. And maybe it would explain the reasons why they waited. Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
But so like Alan Kelly's saying, this isn't an ending. This is a black hole with a fake blaze at the end of a tunnel. But let's say it comes out tomorrow. Let's just say, I don't think it's going to, but let's just say it comes out tomorrow. If it did, it still feels not as great for you and me and some of the other kind of hardcore searchers, but it sure feels okay, I think, 100 years from now when you're looking at a bigger legacy. And I think there's a bigger story that's going to come, my opinion.
And what did I say earlier? It's only been 5 months since the treasure was found. 5 months really isn't that long, guys. 5 months is not that long. Now, if 5 years go by, yeah, but it's only been 5 months. I would hope something would come out by June of next year, the 1 year, like the 1 year anniversary. Why not come out with a book or a movie or whatever the avenue is that you've decided to explain everything? Why not do it on the 1 year anniversary?
Well, and Forrest is pretty persuasive. I believe that the finder, and I believe I know some of the reasons why, or I've surmised. I think he thought he would be able to convince the finder to put out certain things, like Wyoming. I don't think the finder wanted to put that out. I think the finder is looking for a way to monetize, and that was more important than Forrest, in my opinion. And I think Forrest, that surprises the hell out of Forrest.
All right, and we continue. The fishing bridge, where you can't fish, but a lot of searchers. And how far is the fishing bridge from this location that we believe was the actual spot, K-Bro?
Like 15 miles. Everyone should look this up. I'm going to ballpark it. 10, 15 miles. I asked Cynthia this, and I think her answer was 15 miles or something.
Okay. Interesting. Well, of course, it was found by that time, but just to be that close. Okay. And then Cynthia and Justin are talking, just as they probably are right now. They both have TTOTC license plates from different states, which I think.
Yes. Well, I said I stayed back with Tucker the one day just to kind of, I was worried that somebody was gonna like bash the car in and take Tucker or something, because I said, you guys, you're supposed to be these stealth searchers. There's two TTOTC. Like, what are you guys doing? I cannot stay stealth in a TTOTC license plate vehicle. So, I mean, we weren't going to be hiding anywhere.
And a thank you to Smell the Sunshine and Cynthia and Kate Pro. They all helped out with this finale. It was cool, really cool. They gave these awards out. Who drove the farthest?
Yeah.
Finale, 2,600 miles from Orlando. Person who's been armchairing the search the longest. You know, most boots on the ground. 780 boots on the ground. 780 days total. Justin said he was.
Yeah. Okay, I thought it was near 1,000. And I do have to say, this was This was Matt's idea, and he did so good. I still have my certificate, and it's so fun. Dirk is saying, I'm so fixated on money. I am interested. I find it fascinating.
Wait, that you're fixated on money?
Yeah, so he's misunderstanding, or he's saying it the way he wants to.
Yeah.
I am fascinated that the treasure chest wasn't enough. I believe we don't have the story because there's a monetization to happen, that I would have thought the treasure chest was enough to either respond to Forrest or the community. If you don't care about the community, that's one thing. I believe Forrest was asking for some things, and to not have the finder respond to those is disappointing, in my opinion, which it's based on money. So that yes, it is shocking.
Just got an email. The finders were a group, and the story will come out next year. Just a random email. No idea who that's from. But there you go. Well, I hope that's true. I hope the story does come out next year.
I believe it is a group, and there is a couple of people that have said certain things, especially up on Thor. That's not why you get banned. You get banned for other reasons, that are saying it's in a book. The book deal's already done. It's done on Netflix. We've done some verification. No. So yeah, but do I think it's a group? I do.
Hope so. Yeah.
I think that's one of the complications, my opinion.
And I would just say this to the group: come on here anonymously. Anybody can join Zoom and not show video and put up a fake name and just tell your story. This is after the book comes out, after the movie comes out, after all that's done.
Well, so here's the cool. So
questions for
So Dirk just said, you make a lot of assumptions on something you know nothing about. It's my channel. I get to do that.
Right.
You dork.
This is all our opinion.
Like,
you know, I never, when AGK started putting all of this as our opinion in the description of every video they meant, I went, duh. But some people, I guess, need to be reminded. I don't know.
Yeah. So I'm making assumptions because that's all I have based on facts. This article that just came out, we're working from that. If you don't like my opinion, it's okay. Go elsewhere.
And Marty Bird says Forrest should have released a solution. Maybe there's a reason he left it up to the finder. That's part of the story. That's what I want to know. Yeah, that's what I want to know. There's a lot of questions that the finder could clear things up. And we'll see. We still have hope that will come out. And then unfortunately, you guys, this is straight out of a movie. On Sunday morning after the finale, the searchers went their separate ways, and any hope that Fenn might shed more light on the lingering mysteries ended the next day. Monday, September 7th, Labor Day, when his family found Forrest unconscious on the floor of his home. He died about 5 p.m. that evening of natural causes. Fenn had said many times the secret would die with him. It wasn't written down anywhere. It's not on his computer. It's just in his mind, and he did take it with him. You agree with that, K-Pro?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's
September. I agree that that's what he said. I don't.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Is it written down? So I was hoping it was in his will, or it's I know that's what he said. I'm assuming here. This is my assumption, my opinion. I hope it's not true. I hope it's. Yeah.
And I gotta say this: if my grandfather's Forrest Fenn and all this transpired, it's been found. Maybe you were with him in that room and the finder brought it. Maybe you weren't. I'd be like, hey, Grandpa, come here. It's already over. Where was it? You know what I mean? What do you tell Shiloh? If it was my grandfather, I'd pester him all the time saying, hey, it's already over. It's no big deal. Just tell me where it was. Tell me how I was supposed to figure the poem out. But anyway, and then we have.
Well, and okay, last comment I'm going to make to Dirk. He's like, nobody can question you. No, you can say, but you're not questioning. You're saying, I know nothing about this and this and that. And it's okay. I'm allowed an opinion on my own channel. That's what I'm allowed. And if you don't like that opinion, you're here free. Go. That's all I'm saying is I'm allowed to have an opinion. You can question it and say, but wait, I don't agree with that because of da-da-da. Not, you don't know what you're talking about. There's a difference between those two. Okay. So
Mike Nodine says, I'd rather have Forrest back than the Chase back. And I would agree.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nomadic Madman says, do we know if the family met the finder? We do not. I do not know if who met the finder other than Forrest based off those pictures. So, okay.
I agree with that. It seems to me, my assumption, there was others in the room because obviously Forrest was looking at someone in the one. I think he was looking at the finder and someone was taking the picture and he was in a room different than his home. A lot of people have asked me, was that his home? I do not believe this was his home with those pictures. So I think at least 3 people knew. That's me.
Okay. And then, so that was Labor Day, September 7th. And then on September 23rd, someone writing as the finder posted an essay on Medium. I am the person who found Forrest's famed treasure. Now, if it's a group, why would one person say I am the person? Just to throw
There's only one person that retrieved the chest, my opinion.
Oh, I see. So it was a group solution, but only one person went to get it. Oh, that's interesting. Then that would be a true statement, wouldn't it? I am the person who found.
There's some wordplay all through this article.
That's interesting. Okay. Vaguely describing the arduous path that led to the gold. I want the gold. I figured out the location. Now, this part, a lot of people had problems with. I figured out the location where he wished to die and thus where his treasure was back in 2018. And we can speculate, but again, this needs to come out in the story. Did this person figure out, or this group of people figure out where he wanted to die and then try to reverse engineer things? Or did they figure out from the poem where the treasure chest was? And he's just saying that's where he wanted to die.
Right. Yes. Just like, in my opinion, why he was just wandering for 25 days. No, he went 25 days, didn't have the one little difference. And then once he figured out the difference, he went exactly to it. A lot of people are like, and I was too, he wandered for 25 days. No, he had an exact spot that was wrong until you converted it to decimals.
Right. It took me many months to figure out the exact spot. So he's saying he figured out the general. And again, if you use those GPS numbers, you can get a general location of Yellowstone.
Right.
You know what I mean? But if you're looking at the numbers the wrong way, it's going to take you many months to figure out the exact spot, meaning how to read those numbers the correct way. And then he goes into, he cried 25 days at the location before finally uncovering the treasure in what he called a nook. He reverently described meeting Fenn in person in June and implied that he didn't intend to reveal the location of Fenn's special spot. He said he was a millennial with student loans who couldn't afford to keep the treasure and would soon offer it for sale. Well, why hasn't it gone up for sale? Well, again, it's only been 5 months. I don't think 5 minutes is a very long amount of time. Do you?
No, but I think that this is my opinion. I think they're trying to shop the story and have that captured as a part. That would be a key part of a movie or whatever it is, and I think they want that captured in the process.
Gotcha. The essay was accompanied by photos of the chest and its contents, evidently outtakes from the same set of pictures Fenn had published. And that's the only reason we believe the finder on the Medium article is because he posted pictures that had not been released before, right? Of course, this did nothing to debunk the widely held belief that Fenn's family was somehow involved in a ruse or ruse. I'll accept your answer. Including suggestions that Douglas Preston had written it. The treasure was real. It has been found, and my wonderful grandfather has passed. We have the closure that we need. Shiloh Old, Fenn's grandson, told me. Posey thought the post was legitimate. And then the rest of the story. Now you know the rest of the story, as Paul Harvey would say. Hashtag Paul Harvey, anybody? In early October, he was Posey with his family cabin in southwestern Montana, shutting it down for the year, when he got a text from Christy Thor asking if he was still in the area. She and Meacham had an exciting development to tell him about. They were driving up through Utah, heading from Vegas to West Yellowstone to check out a GPS-based solution to the poem. It depended on deriving numbers from homophones, FOR4, TO2, and word within a word, kangaroos. I've never heard of kangaroos before, like the word one and the word done. In Fenn's poem to come up with a longitude and a latitude. I will say this, you and Cynthia are crazy for jumping in the truck and going. I remember when we thought, do you think we could find it? Like, and you were like, well, we're going. I was like, what? I didn't think you had a chance to find the location based off of what we knew, based off the numbers. I didn't think there was a chance, but congrats for you guys for having the metal to strike the trail, as somebody once said in a book, to go out there and try and find it. And you guys did. The location. I'm not talking about the treasure chest.
Well, I can tell you with the devices and technology and knowledge that Justin had, Cynthia and I talked about this. Do you think we would have found this without Justin? Cynthia would not have relented. She said, I probably mid next summer, after another 100 boots on the grounds in that location, she knew GPS well enough, but she didn't have the same knowledge and equipment. So she said we wouldn't have found it this year by any means.
Right.
We would have next year. So it all kind of fell together, but he's exactly right. It was going through Salt Lake City. She's like, what about, it was meant to be. This group came together in just an odd group of circumstances. I was actually on the Mr. Clue hunt in Newport Beach sitting because I couldn't get a ferry over to Catalina Island, which is where it was.
We were right. It was Catalina Island. Couldn't figure out where, though.
I was sitting on a beach.
Whoever found that. Yeah.
And my daughter was really upset because we were supposed to spend the night in Newport Beach. And I got a call and Cynthia was going the next day. And I said, wait a minute, what? She goes, I just want to check on some things. I want to say, and I said, no, I'm coming. And she goes, can you? And I looked at my daughter and I said, we'll do 4 more hours on the beach. I'll drive all night. I got home, I think 11, took the bathing suits and put them away and got my winter gear out and said, honey, are you okay with it?
It said Cynthia's picking me up at 5 a.m. tomorrow. And I said, huh? Who said what to who? I was like, you guys think you're actually going to find it? Don't know, but we're going. And I said, okay, go do it. And I think personally that it was closure for you and Cynthia to make one last trip to kind of put things to rest for you guys. And we're going to talk about that as far as closure for searchers here in a minute. But congratulations that you actually found it. Whether the chest was there or not, you found the spot that was conveyed to us through GPS coordinates, which I think is awesome.
Well, and it wouldn't have literally, we were standing in front of it. Well, it's part of the story here. There was so many things that had to come together to figure it out. And I will say a lot of people were like, it was you and Justin and Cynthia. None of this would have happened without Mike. And there was a little bit of an issue that we had because I think a lot of people were forgetting that. And I got a little frustrated that I wanted it broken through you on this channel because you're the one who sacrificed and quote unquote stayed home while you were dealing with all sets of kids.
I was at the command center. That's right.
I know. And you're okay with that, but you missed, I think, the only thing missing from that trip was you not being there. It would have been awesome. Me and you sitting at that nook and just having a moment. I got it with Cynthia and a new now search friend, Justin, a newer search friend than Cynthia. And she's special to me, but not like you. So you were such a critical part to that whole piece. Well, you're the one that had correspondence with the source. You were the one that, yeah.
I've never said it before. Thank you to the source for reaching out. He didn't have to email us. He didn't have to say, hey, I know something about this.
Wait a minute. He did not email us. He emailed
he didn't have to email me. Thank you.
He was a fan of yours. He was, that was because I think through the years, I talked to my brother who was a searcher and who's like an uber fan of Mike's from back in the day. And I said, why do you think the source went to Mike? He goes, because Mike's genuine and Mike, like, he would be able to walk through this with him and he's trusted. And I'm like, yeah, that's not.
And I was Switzer. Okay. Well, let me tell you a side story. This is how crazy the thrill of the chase is. K-Pro's brother emails me 5 years ago, says, hey, you ever want to talk about the thrill of the chase, and puts his phone number. I email him back because I don't just call strangers on the phone. So I kind of emailed him back with a generic, what do you think about this crazy thing or whatever? And that's it. And then years later, I meet K-Pro through the thrill of the chase in Forrest Fenn's den. Fast forward 2 years later, we're getting married. So her brother emailed me 5 years ago, just knowing me from YouTube videos. And now I'm marrying your sister. So I win. That's all I got to say. All right, let's get back to the.
Well, and I will just say there's only 2 people he's ever contacted in the chase. He thought there was a lot of, he's not a person that shares private stuff. And he's like, you could just tell Mike was trustable, which is
here's an interesting one. Yeah, and I look forward to meeting you at the wedding. Mariah Carey says, "Are you trying to create a story to sell to a production company? What is the point of all this?" K-Pro, what's the point of talking about the thrill of the chase today? 6 months, 5 months, 5 months after the treasure has been found. What's the point of talking about any of this?
Well, so for me, this is my part of closure. We're documenting. Mike
Exactly.
said the reason he started his channel years ago, and always some people would say, "Why do you have your boys in it? This isn't treasure hunt related. They'd be at a park or somewhere." The reason we're doing this is to document our story. Why is anyone discussing the chase? Why do we have 180 people in here, but when we discuss Mr. Clue, we have 40, or we discuss US Treasure or any of the others? It was a phenomenon that was tremendous. I think now, why are we talking about our particular GPS solve? Because we're going over the article that has the GPS solve in it. But are we pushing ourselves? Like, how many times did Toby say Rios de los Pinos or New Mexico fishing regulations? And somebody would give him a hard time. Just because we also report on the chase, we're allowed to be passionate about our solves, and it's okay, or what we think really happened. So the point of all this is to discuss the hunt. There's a lot of people that say, please move on. I'm done with the Forrest Fenn hunt. Tonight is not your night to be in here. We're going to discuss Vegas die next week. Go for that. Go, whichever one. But do we do it for the hard-hitting, life-changing dollars? No. Do we do it for the clicks? No. Do we do it because this is the community? My closest friends are searchers. My fiance is a searcher. I just took D-Pro out and we found first the treasure of a different hunt. We're into this. It's fun. I like discussing it. If you don't, it's okay. What's the point of all of it? I don't like to discuss solves, and that's why we moved over that in the article. There's another channel that might just want to focus just on that. Awesome. Go for it. My fiance. There you go. Mike, we're hearing all that.
Yeah, sorry. Okay. No, I cut it off. No, and I would answer that question with just closure. This provides people an outlet to talk about their solves, right or wrong, talk about their story. Why did Benjamin Wallace from the New Yorker magazine or whatever it was do an article on Justin Posey? It's just closure. It's getting the word out because people have spent money, time, blood, sweat, tears. It's all the stuff that's been invested in this thing. I've got hours and hours invested on YouTube. K-Pro's got hours investing in her forum and the Hint of Riches and the Facebook. Right. I mean,
okay, here's another question. But is this your solve? Let me put it this way, because we've said it so many times. So Queen Anne asked, but is it your solve? This is no. If it was my solve, I would have the treasure chest. Right. So for those of you that are maybe not understanding, this was not a solution I worked on. This is not a solution Mike worked on. We got it from someone else, and we believe it is the correct solution. So when we say it's your solve, it's our theory on how the Forrest Fenn treasure was found. It is not mine. I'm not claiming rights to it and being second place. I believe this is the way it was solved, and that's it. But is it my solve? I'll just say our solve. Thank you. Sorry, had kids. That's it. That's all. So why are we doing this? Because it's closure for all of us. And there's 170 people that agree. And some people are like, no, don't talk about the other hunts. Right. Because a lot of people still want this. And then this is our theory of how it was solved. Was it our solution? Did we come up with it? No. Okay, that's it.
Okay, and we're going to get to something that I believe that Benjamin Wallace got wrong. So let's get to it. So let's go through the timeline. When Fenn had announced the discovery of the treasure back in June, her partner, Mike Cowling, had been contacted by someone who apparently knew who the finder was. That's right. That's what this source said. They knew who the finder was. We were like, yeah, okay, you and 100 other people. As proof, the source tipped Cowling off to the Medium post the week before it went up. So let's clarify that one a little bit. Wasn't tipped to the Medium post. All this person said was there'll be something coming out next week. That's it. Not a printed article, not this, not that. There'll be something coming out next week. Not what day, not There'll be something coming out next week. And next week on the 23rd is when the Medium article came out.
Now there was there was a piece that I misstated, but there's a piece that there's a little bit of truth to. Let's see, I think it came out on a Wednesday. That Tuesday night, I said something to Mike like it was supposed to come out by today, and it didn't. And he's like, yeah, I think you messaged him. I don't remember the exact detail. And the next morning it came out. And then Mike verified it was supposed to come out in a different thing. There was a little bit of a hubbub, but it came out. That's how it came out. So there was a little bit more to it than just the random, we're going to next week. There's a little bit more to it. I just don't remember exact details. So, okay, Goodell asked me, so why can I not believe anyone else's solve? Because it doesn't matter. No, because it doesn't matter. I might, but why does it matter to anyone if I think you guys are giving me way too much credit. It should not matter whether I believe your solve. If you have your solve, go for it. But I don't need to.
And Mariah Carey said, but in my opinion, Justin didn't find the actual location. That's fine. You have a right to your opinion. What people don't like is we have a YouTube channel that people watch. So they think our opinion is somehow more, it leans more weight or more credence. It doesn't. We just have a YouTube channel that.
Well, but someone
you're not banned for expressing your opinion in the chat. You can put your opinion. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, and somebody said, but everyone's just following you like sheep. I'm on this channel and we don't get as many viewers. Okay, that doesn't mean they're following us like sheep. They just may want to hear more from one group or another. I wouldn't say someone is stupid or sheep because they want to hear our opinions more than yours. Like somebody else was saying, but they have the worst YouTube channel and we have a better one. Okay. It's kind of like customers. They shop where they want.
Yeah, it's called the free market. That's how that works. People have a choice on what they want to watch and who they want to email. And the source had a choice on who he talked to. All that's just the way.
Just like Forrest Fenn got to choose who he talked to. Some people don't like that. But anyway, let's keep going.
All right. So the source tipped calling off to the Medium post the week before it went up. That's technically not true. The source didn't tip me off to the Medium post. The source said something will come out next week, and then it did. Posey would later hear that the source had at one time belonged to a group of searchers who met online and collaborated on a possible homophone-based solve. Supposedly, the finder was one of a smaller team who eventually cracked the puzzle, and the finder was, and the source was evidently bitter about being excluded from sharing the spoils. I'll point everybody to this word evidently. That's an assumption. I think Ben Wallace is saying, and again, when you think of this and say, so there's a group of people who kicked around numbers in the poem. They had no agreement on splitting or anything. What's up, Chris? You can say hi. They had no agreement in place. It was, let's talk about this, and whoever finds it gets it. And then when that happens, somebody finds it and gets it. The assumption is, well, this person must be upset. It must be sour grapes. And that's why this person reached out. I don't agree with that. I asked the source. I asked, why are you sharing this? Why did he share it with me? Because he knows we're going to talk about it in the YouTube channel once we could get what, in our opinion, was confirmation. And we'll go into the whole confirmation thing in a minute. Nice, Copper Dan. And the reason is closure. Because the finder is either taking their time or there's legal issues or whatever. We're 5 months in and still no answer. It's closure. This source wants people to know this is where it was and this is how it was found out. Think about the entire article. Justin Posey's entire thing was trying to figure the puzzle out. This gave Justin Posey closure, saying this could be it. Not 100% this is it, but this is a viable solution. There are numbers in the poem that, if followed in order, starting at begin it, lead you to a location in Yellowstone Park that Forrest Fenn said he's umbilically attached to, blah, blah, blah. You can lay out the case, and it gives closure to so many people. Now, if you don't have closure because your solve was in New Mexico, that's okay. That's okay, but don't take away the closure from other people, I guess, is what I'm saying. Everybody's got their opinion, but that's why the source wanted this info out. And you could
he said that. He didn't it wasn't a this is what we think. He said that. So in my opinion, this is one area that the Medium article got completely incorrect. Some other things might be little interpretations. We asked him and he answered this was why.
Yeah, and it says evidently, meaning Ben Wallace is making an assumption. This guy's part of a group. Somebody else found it. So evidently, he's just upset. That's not it at all. He wants closure for the community. And in my mind, that means he knows the finder maybe is not going to share it. Maybe that's an assumption on my part. So, all right, here we go. We're almost to the end. Okay. Thor showed Posey photos the source had provided of the place where the treasure had been found. One shot of the area, a cathedral of soaring lodgepole pines, and the other two were of the place on the ground where he claimed the chest had been. The next morning, they drove there in Posey's truck. They were calling Operation Nook. They parked at the DeLacy Creek picnic area, began a short hike, hopped over a small creek, walked through a meadow into a copse. It's the kind of area I'm always looking for, Posey says. Less than a mile to walk, no elevation, very simple, approachable. There's a physical boundary in the form of a water crossing. It's simple, but it deters a lot of people. That lets you go from a populated area to a very private place quickly. So the person that has 880 boots on the ground and is very methodical is basically saying this place makes sense. And then after the first day, you guys were kind of ready to give up. It didn't make sense. Posey began to have doubts that the solve was authentic. But he spoke to a friend in Austin, an applied mathematician, who pointed out the extraordinary unlikelihood that out of the effectively infinite geographic coordinates in the world, a set of digits derived from number homophones in the order in which they appear in the poem would yield a location that happened to be within the Fenn search area. And again, it's the simplest thing in the world. If two numbers are on the same line, you add them up. It's not complicated. It's not geometry. It's not trying to derive certain numbers. The numbers are there and you just add them up on the line. The key, in my opinion, was to start with begin it. What are the odds that that would work out, but it would be a coincidence? Not high, in my opinion. Okay. And then the next day they go back. And here's the deal. We got reached. It was two things that happened. And this is not in the article, but I'm going to tell you. It's two things that happened. One, Mr. Randy Pischel made a video and said, decimal degrees is how I do treasure hunts. Wink, wink. Beacon Star on Amazon. Go buy it. Treasure hunt in Denver. But he said decimal degrees is how I do things. We also had Lou B. Big thank you to Lou B., who is a pilot, who reached out to us and said, pilots use decimal degrees. Forrest was a pilot. Why don't you guys look at those numbers in decimal degree format? And that's what fit perfectly. If you look, and Lou Lee said, I was just there and the GPS numbers don't work. They do if you use decimal degrees. Starting with begin it, go in order, wrap it around to the first stanza. Decimal degrees, the 0.2 is 12 seconds, I believe. Yep. 0.2 in decimal degrees is 12 seconds. It fits exactly. So,
yeah, and there's been many people out there since then. So and GPS is hard for me. GPS was really, really hard. So I understand some people maybe not understanding it or knowing how it works. I didn't before this boots on the ground. That's why Justin was so incredible to have on the team. Cynthia has the same knowledge. She didn't have the same technology and things. Watching the two of them was just fun. They just knew stuff. They were wilderness people. I wasn't. I'm a flatlander. So.
And then he gives the words that were said, a couple exclamations. She radioed Meacham, who thought she was joking and said, you're so full of it. But then they were serious. There was nothing that doesn't line up with the original photo. So then you guys scoop the dirt, let the dog. He alerts on the dirt. Again, I'm not going to get into why, if the chest was gone for so many months, would he still be able to alert? Because I don't know the answer to that. I don't know why that is.
Well, and that actually came up because Justin really does, I think, take some of the claims and he wants to investigate it. So there was a post up on Reddit that says you can never sniff bronze if it's not actually there. There's no remnants of it because of the molecular whatever. I'm sure him or his network of people, he started looking into it and he felt still good about it. And that's enough for me. I'm not going to go research advanced bronze molecular structures. I just am going to trust Justin. It's just keep it simple. That's all.
And then Silver Fox says you could pull hundreds of numbers from the poem in various ways if you try. I guess you could, except these are the ones that lead you there. A lot of people point out the 8 in water, ATE is in water, but it doesn't sound like 8 when you pronounce the word. I mean, to me, that makes sense. It's not waiter, it's water. That's not an 8. Right. But dumb sounds maybe like 1, 2, it sounds like 2. Effort has got 4 in it. Effort still sounds like 4, in my opinion. You don't have to.
And Nomadic Madman, I'm on your side. Just looking at the photos, it was described as a nook. Does it appear nookish? Yes. In my opinion, I will just say there was some loose, like you wouldn't have to dig. There was like some loose thing, maybe pine needle-ish type things. There was a spot that it could have rested in. I think it would have been exposed a little bit. I don't think the whole thing was exposed. I think it could have fit under that log, my opinion.
Okay, and that's kind of the end of the story, everybody.
Is it?
We made the mistake at starting at the top. You have to start it where Forrest always said, which is begin it. You have to know where the first clue is. Begin it where warm water's halt. Then wrap around. He had hiked that same trail at least 8 times. He had been in that meadow. In my estimation, he said he was off by 600 feet. Maddening how close I was. Maddening. There were discrepancies that didn't make sense. The longitude they computed it brought them exactly to the longitude of the site, but the latitude was 900 feet off. And then this is where Randy made the video. Lou B, the pilot, reached out, and Posey Justin may have figured this out on his own. I don't know, but to use decimal degrees, the lack of precision nagged him. But upon further analysis, it turned out that the final two, if read using a pilot standard decimal minutes notation, which we're calling decimal degrees, it would be 0.2, meaning 12 seconds, which puts the solve location at the precise spot that Posey found and Cynthia and K-Pro found in the forest. So Thor and Cowling announced the solve to the chase community in a YouTube titled Forrest Fenn Treasure Location Confirmed with 5 exclamation points. Let me say this when it comes to that. A lot of people said, how can you guys do that? You guys are the voice of reason. You guys are the ones that we go to for the info. How could you say it's confirmed when it's not? You don't get it both ways. If I'm the voice of reason and I think it's confirmed, I'm going to say that. You can't say we're the authentic people that have the voice of reason. And then when we say why we think it's confirmed, go, well, no, that's not true. I don't agree with it. And in my opinion, the only reason I put confirmed is because they found it. They actually found the location that matched the pictures. You don't have to like it. And you don't have to like that I put confirmed with 5 exclamation points. I actually removed the confirmed from the title of the video when people started to complain. But in my opinion, it is confirmed. And I thought you guys tuned in for me and K-Pro's opinion, because that's what this entire show is, our opinion. Go ahead, K-Pro.
Well, I was just going to say, Mike and I disagree on some things. That's one of the things that people were so upset. And I think he made a joke in there. Like, I was more upset about the 5 exclamation points. It's just, again, it's kind of like when some people are focusing on the drama part so much. There's so much more to this chase that the title gate became. I went on one show and it was like I only had a few minutes and we talked about the title for a majority of the time. I just think we have so much more to talk about, in my opinion, that I just wanted to focus more on something else. But it's okay. I'm okay discussing it, but I don't think we realize. But there were some people that I really respect giving that opinion, as well as we are like a news source, etc. It was newsworthy enough to us. So anyway, we learned a lot from Titlegate. We will be more careful on our. Well, somebody said the video I just uploaded that was treasures found, the red herring hunt. I said treasures found, that we are the Forrest Fenn channel. They thought something had developed with the Forrest Fenn channel and they had a problem with that title. Well, no, I used the actual title of the treasure hunt in that title. So I haven't even told you about this one because I'm not reading through all of it. Anyway, let's keep going because this is not where I'm going to.
Well, people are always going to have an issue with something you're doing. I mean, but the Great U.S. Treasure Hunt points out you got to put confirmed back in the title, or otherwise the people that read the article won't be able to find the video. Maybe I will put it back with 5 exclamation points. Anyway, the community reacted with overwhelming negativity to the triumphal certainty of the headline, and only slightly less so to the solve itself. Posey was more confident in this solve than in any others he had heard or thought of, but even he still had doubts. I wasn't totally comfortable with the 5 exclamation point announcement, and that's fine. I didn't ask anybody permission. It's my YouTube channel. I put the title without getting the okay from anybody.
Well, I took him as sarcastic there.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, but whatever.
And then, of course, then it goes into discussion of, well, if the GPS numbers are correct, those are the 9 clues. What about the 9 literal clues? What about where warm waters halt and Homa Brown and the blaze and everything else? Do those even matter? Or was the only real meaning of the poem a chain of digits concealed It was almost an affront to some people because they've wasted their time trying to find those things for 10 years. Fenn had sat watching amusedly for 10 years as everyone studied every square inch of his life and biography, when the key to the poem was essentially an advanced brain teaser. I really think it's double encoded. I think you can make it work both ways, meaning Isa Lake is where warm waters halt, just my opinion. Okay, so his buddy drives up the next day. They studied the ground. They lined things up. Fenn on one occasion had said that no knowledge of codes or ciphers wouldn't help someone solve the poem. In my opinion, it's not a cipher. GPS or numbers are not codes or ciphers, but hey, that's just me.
Hold on 1 second. Go back up.
Mhm.
Wherever you just were. Hold on. There were inconsistencies in the way Fred had one occasion.
Go ahead. Homophones worked.
You keep moving.
No knowledge of codes or ciphers.
Yeah, well, he just said Preston too was left with the impression that Fenn's puzzle was straightforward. What he told me is no anagrams, no numbers counting, no people doing this, and they're barking up the wrong tree. Yeah, he said, so I confirmed with Ben, he said that like a year ago. He did not say that, or before the GPS solved, even though I think Ben's putting it together. I asked specifically, so Douglas told you this was incorrect. And he goes, oh no, but he did this quote before he knew about the GPS solve and then never confirmed if he didn't agree with the GPS solve. And I said, okay, not that it's a big deal. It's like,
Right.
Why do I care about Douglas's opinion? But I kind of do. It's kind of interesting.
I think somebody should ask Douglas Preston for this particular solve, these GPS numbers. What does he think of I'd like to know his opinion. What does he think? I don't know if anybody's done that, and I don't know if he would answer even if they do.
I've talked to him on other things. I'm not talking to him about solves.
Okay.
So I don't know.
So it's over. And, this was his reason to be, says his friend Kim Severno, who went on more than a dozen searches. So when it was found, it's now what do I do with my life? So if it comes to auction, Posey says he'd feel compelled to bid on it, although he thinks it would go for significantly more than its appraised value. And then it talks about he came upon a fist-sized rock that looked like a meteorite. He was able to get it tested in New England. It confirmed it is a meteorite worth a substantial sum. And Posey hasn't told anyone exactly where he found it because there were a lot more of these rocks at the site, and he plans to retrieve them. He wants to hide them as part of the treasure hunt he has been thinking about. He has a spot in his mind. So sounds like Justin may just pay it forward on his own. And that is the end of the story until the finder comes out with more information. And we hope that the finder does.
Well, so a couple of things. Minotaur says the longer I process, the more I disagree with this solve. I'm still 90% it was retrieved. So the cool part is, Minotaur, I've been on this scale too, this pendulum going back and forth. I'm just on a different point of the pendulum. I still think we should have a discussion about the possible pulling of it, but I think everybody wants to focus why more. It's not the GPS. So we're at different parts of the pendulum, but we're still on the pendulum. And you've always been respectful, even though we have a good time bantering. We're just silly towards each other, which is fine. Is this the last big article about the chase that you know of? Article? Yes. I technically answered this correctly.
Cryptic as usual. Okay.
Well, he said article, so that would be a written news article is how I take that. So that's what I was processing. And I would say yes at this time. So there you have it.
Right. I just put a link in the chat. We did say we would talk about World Series of Fenn. That link to that video does have the discount codes for anybody that does want to come out January 29th, that weekend next year. And I also put a link to the actual video we're talking about. Forrest Fenn solution, Forrest Fenn location confirmed, if anybody wants to check it out. But that's really all I got.
So let's take some questions you guys put at KPro, and I will try to read them. Right. At KPro, you spoke about another article coming out. Will we get together for it also? If any additional article or really anything comes out on the chase, we're going to discuss it. That's what we do. I will say official article. I don't think it's going to be an article. I think there's going to be some new press. I'll just leave it generically as press. Let it fly, Street says. The one thing that I think I have learned from all of this, because I am learning and trying to do good by you guys, is until I have something confirmed kind of 100%, don't even say it, because if I do, and then it ends up either being wrong or not, like someone said, one of the troll groups were saying, you're never allowed to have a solve again. This is it. Well, no, I had 5 solves along the way that I believed in. I'm allowed to change my mind if I had evidence that would change things. So for me, I'm allowed to do anything I want. It's my channel, as long as it's legal, non-threatening, not personal, and not nasty. I like to be able to keep an open mind. Do I still think there's that 1% chance Forrest could have pulled it? I'm not 100%. This could have all been an elaborate hoax and laugh on us, and maybe. So what other media is coming, if you are aware? Holy says, I am aware of several TV movie pieces that may or may not come out, that I think some are absolutely being developed, whether they're going to just stick it on a YouTube channel or go to a festival or whatever. It's coming out come hell or high water. So I know that there's several that are coming out. Several are being pitched to big networks, big movies, big like Netflix and all the different ones like that. I don't know a lot about TV, so I'm going to defer. But there was a lot that happened in the last week, I will say, a lot. And that's all I'll say, because Mike will kill me because I can't say anything more at this time, at this moment, because I say it too early and then you guys all get frustrated. Like I'm teasing. I'm not. Okay. Have you heard anything about Josh Gates doing anything on this whole ordeal? I have not. Have you, Mike? I didn't think.
Nope, I have not heard anything at all for that.
Yeah, we had a brief discussion with Dustin, right?
Yeah, but there's no info.
Yeah, I didn't think that he said that there's anything more coming out. Dustin was on Expedition Unknown. He met Josh. He, got to go and travel with him, which was really cool. So we talked a little bit about all this. Dustin wasn't really into the Forrest Fenn hunt, so that was a little different. Okay. Any other questions, thoughts?
So, I just want to say thanks everybody for tuning in. Yeah. And again, when the finder decides to put out more, whether it's a new article, whether it's a book or a movie or whatever it is, we will always go live with the title Forrest Fenn Treasure Found if we have any new info, or just a place to give a place for people to discuss. The other thing we talk about is the treasure hunting amusement park and the other treasure hunts that are out there. We've got a couple that are coming out this month. We've got one ourselves that's coming out this month. So yeah, everybody can check that out.
Well, and those of you, a lot of you asked, I was kind of tied up for a couple of days because I was going boots on the ground for a hunt that Genetic Blend did. Somebody reached out, and it was really funny because she asked me, what do you want the deal to be? Because there's a couple pieces to the prize. And I said, I want rights to do a video. And I want to put it out on video. And there was a piece I wanted out of the treasure cache. And it was funny because she said, what do you want to do a video for? And I was like, well, Cowlazars and she's like, who's Cowlazars? It's awesome because we found it. We put that video up. Go take a look at it. It's awesome. Genetic Blend did a great job. Any more surprises soon? Loki, in my opinion, yes. It depends on what it depends on what your definition of soon is, but I do believe there's going to be some additional information coming out, in my opinion. And I think the treasure chest is going to be sold. I think more information is going to come out from a couple of different sources, and I'm going to leave it at that for right now.
And Chris has got something he wants to tell everybody. Come here. Tell.
I hope everybody buys our merch if we have any. And what was it?
You said fan mail, I think.
Oh yeah, fan mail. If anybody wants
send something in the mail. So I do have to say thank you, Chris. Merch. We don't have any merch.
Oh, you need to go. The one searcher that sent us.
Yeah. All right. Like, we do want to say thank you to an anonymous person who did send us something in the mail. I'll grab it right now.
Yeah. Okay. As he's grabbing that, I'm going to continue to answer questions. Any updates on the legal and expected changes? I believe both of the there's the Arizona and the Chicago lawsuits. I believe both of those are now pending on the court side. I think they have put in their information and they are not granted into discovery phase yet. Both of them are very different, but very much the same, and they're litigating against the family at this point. So they've transitioned it from Forrest is now passed, let's transition it to the family. Both are extremely different. In one of the people that are suing is doing a lot of YouTubes, doing a lot of exposure in the community, very engaging, very upset about a lot of things. The other is very private and not coming out with a lot of things. So publicly, other than what's in the lawsuit. So we're just kind of watching and waiting. Right when anything gets updated, we'll definitely put it up on Thor, and we'll wait to see on this last piece. I have some opinions on that, but it upsets the one person so much. I just want to try to keep her a little bit not as unstable as she's been. So let's just wait until it actually comes out. But yes, go ahead, Mike.
No idea what that was about. So we got to say thank you to the finder who sent us something in the mail. This is the return address was the finder, but it was also from 123 Wannabe Street, West Yellowstone. So I thought that was pretty funny. This is what we got in the mail. Check it out, everybody.
I love it.
Is that how I look? Is that a pretty good representation? So there it is. It does say the thrill of the chase down here. It also came with a little dog that I didn't bring over, but they sent that to us again. We don't know who sent this. What do you think, Chris? Think that looks like us? He
Yes,
says it
it
looks
does.
Asian. The guy looks Asian.
Asian.
Thank you for sending this. And here's the other thing. I wasn't going to show it, but I'm going to. The only note that was in the box is
no. What if it has no?
this?
Don't send. And I
This?
saw that you were going to send it to. No, please don't.
Well,
What if
what if it actually has info from the finder?
or something private of the actual person that sent it? It wasn't. And I
Then
saw
they
you were
should have
thinking
sent
about.
it in cipher. So they sent a cipher. They sent a cipher, which I've not decoded yet. The only thing that was here, I'll say the top line. The only thing that was in this is this. Check this out. It is a cipher. I got to do a Zoom with a bunch of people to try and solve this because I haven't tried to crack it yet. That's the only new. Yeah.
Okay, we're going to talk before you do that, because
The other thing I've thought though is that it's gibberish, that they're just trying to mess with me, that it's not spellable at all.
No, they said
So,
so sweet.
yeah.
I liked it.
Yeah. So
Nomadic says
what
if the
that means.
family does not know anything, what can they possibly find? I think they want to know whether someone is willing or not to answer them. I think some people feel entitled to the point they can take someone's they have freedom of speech. They're allowed to say or not say something. Kind of, I can make 100 analogies. It doesn't matter. Some people feel they can either use the courts or they can use threatening tactics of being in front of their home and demanding answers. And I believe that that's what they're trying to do. At the end of the day, we're going to see if the legal system allows for that or not. How about doing a show on who is the strongest searcher all the way down to the craziest? Oh, I think that could go terribly wrong. I was actually worried when Smell of Sunshine wanted to do at the Fenn finale any of the same sort of things. But it actually turned out really well. So maybe a show on that. I don't know. I don't know. Let's see. Can we end this with a group hug?
Of course we can. That's what the World Series of Fenn is going to be all about, everybody. January 29th weekend in Las Vegas, Nevada. We're doing a poker tournament for searchers. World Series of Fenn. This will be our third one here in Vegas. Come on out. It's going to be at Bally's Hotel and Casino. And Bertha, I just gave you the video to watch the code. I don't have the code offhand. There's a link. You have to click the link. It's not a code. It's a link. You have to click that link and it gives you the prices discounted. So in that video, in the description of that video, well, actually, maybe I could look it up.
Well, as you're doing that, Minotaur says, he's saying this to Bobby, but I have an answer to it. What's your argument? 8 is not 8, like using it. We did get some information that Forrest actually put out a scrapbook that said his dog ate the mushrooms. So a searcher had emailed him working on the homophones, and it was like, do I use the 8s, don't I? The next day, now this is all secondhand. I didn't verify it, but secondhand, they said, Forrest put out the next day a scrapbook that said his dog ate mushrooms. He didn't know the rules, and he's now having seizures and this and that.
He didn't know
Yes.
the rules. He shouldn't have ate the mushroom. So what that also says, everybody, is that Forrest Fenn did in fact give hints. He tried to turn people gear, sway people, gives hidden, but you gotta, okay. So
And
right there,
he was communicating through scrapbooks. I don't think
right
that
there
was
is the link.
confirmed.
Yeah, he definitely was. And I'll show you guys, I'm going to tell you guys a story for everybody who's stuck with us for 2 hours and 15 minutes. I'm going to tell you guys a story I was sworn to secrecy about, but because the Trail of Chase is over, I think it's okay to share. So one, I did put the link. It wasn't from you. You didn't swear me to secrecy, although I think I told you about it, K-Bro. There's the link for the discounted rooms at Bally's for the World Series of Fenn weekend. Those numbers that are in that link are for all 3 days: Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night. We're going to have things going on Thursday night, Friday night, and Saturday night. Poker tournament is Saturday night. Okay, this is a couple years ago. There is a searcher who I will never reveal who it was, but she went to Forrest Fenn's home. Her and her husband and their children, their family, went to Forrest Fenn's home. And there on his desk was a sticky note on his computer. Stuck to his computer was a sticky note. And that sticky note had a 8-digit number. And she took note of it because I think she took some pictures of the den. And when she got home, she saw that sticky note was on his computer. And when she looked at the picture and blew it up, that number was, drum roll, that number was the zip code of Yellowstone National Park. Is he trying to give a hint? I don't know. Or was maybe that number a password that he used on the computer? But there was a sticky note. It had the 8-digit zip code. I don't remember the actual numbers. It's been so long ago.
Oh, and you said she, and this goes to the scandal. Me too.
You guys will never know who it is, and I'll never say who it is. But yeah, she reached out in confidence and just said, was he trying to tell me something at the time? I said, no, of course not. But now that the location was in Yellowstone, all I can say is maybe. All I can say is maybe.
Okay, Alan K says, where is Sturmworm? Sturmworm was around for a little while after the announcements. I haven't seen him in chats lately, but I will say there's a lot of people we don't see anymore. A lot of people moved on to other things, different hobbies, other treasure hunts, etc. But you're right, Sturmworm is one. He was around for a little bit. I want to say a month or two. He was really a Reddit guy, I think, more than anything. Give me a hint. That would have sealed it, right? Yeah. And Minotaur, that is why the particular person that the source was so, no, I'm not saying that. Yeah, that is why. Yeah, that's why. I don't know what I was going to say. I was almost said something that I wouldn't want reveal. So, okay. Okay, what else? Anything else?
We're at 2.5 hours. I think we need to wrap it up. We got stuff we got to do. So thanks for tuning in, everybody. Thank you to the person who sent this, and I will crack your code. Oh, yes, I will crack the cipher. I just haven't had time to look at it yet. There is not going to be a private Zoom tonight. Sorry, everybody. But it is 9:30 at night. We got kids that got to get put to bed for school. So there is not going to be a private Zoom tonight. Maybe tomorrow after Amy Seeks does her Blackbeard and Great U.S. Treasure Hunt interview. She's doing both tomorrow night, right? I believe. Maybe I have that wrong. But anyway, maybe after Amy Seeks, we'll do a Zoom then. We'll see. We definitely got to do updates on Vegas Die. And we definitely got to.
Alan, I think you're talking about someone else. Private message me because I know of that particular person, unless both were gored by an elk. I think they're two different people that you're talking about. So, yeah, there you have it. Yeah, Holy said it. I think those are two different people. And I think Shadow is still around. Shadowcaster, I think Sturmworm is not as much, but I don't think Shadowcaster is around as much. I think he was the one that actually broke the Finder's article. I think he's around. He's still watching, but he's not as kind of in the community as before. So there you go.
And somebody asked, I think it was Godelkin, Yellowstone National Park has a zip code. if you put in Google Yellowstone National Park zip code, it comes up with 82190. So there you go. Yeah, never told that to anybody before. Okay. Sorry, Bobby, no Zoom. Not from me anyway. If anybody else out there wants to do it, go feel free. But I got stuff and I'm going to bed. We have a treasure hunt ourselves to work on, for God's sakes. And I'm going to bed early tonight.
What
So what's that, K-Pro?
I said, whatever. I've worked a ton on it, and I know you're busy, but
And now I'm going to, which is why I'm bypassing the Zoom to work on it.
okay.
She says, I'll believe it when I see it.
And
Okay,
this is
everybody.
my roll eye. Do you have a little button that's like, I'm rolling my eyes at you or something? Yeah,
All right,
little button.
everybody. And speaking of that, we do have a treasure hunt that we're working on, which is, we call it a tribute to the chase. So everybody can just email me at cowlazars@gmail.com if you want to know how to be a part of that treasure hunt when we release it. We're taking pre-orders right now. Okay, thank you, everybody. That is thanks to Ben Wallace for the article. I liked it. Justin Posey, congratulations again. I'm glad you got closure after all your boots on the ground. I'm glad Cynthia Meacham got closure after all her boots on the ground. And I'm glad K-Pro got closure after all the time we've spent on YouTube and after all the emails and her friendship with Forrest. I'm glad she got closure on what the final location of the treasure just could be. And that's all I got to say.
And Mike, I'm glad you got closure, because you, even though you weren't physically there, I think you've gotten closure from it, and you didn't have that before. So all that you have done for the community, and I will say there's a ton of people, including my brother, that are fans, especially of how you used to do. I mean, you with your boys, my gosh, everybody loves you. I have made you not Switzerland, and I am sorry, honey.
And that's okay. I actually let you invade. You didn't actually have to do too much. Okay. All right, everybody. We are getting married over the World Series of Fenn weekend. So if you're coming out, please.
I got a dress today.
If you're coming to the World Series of Poker, if you're coming just Saturday to play the poker, we need to know. We need to know how many people. Please email me at cowlazars@gmail.com and let me know. Everybody's invited. All the searchers are invited. And if you don't think there's going to be a discussion in that suite the night after the World Series of Fenn, Justin Posey's going to be there. Cynthia Meacham's going to be there. We're going to be there. Copper Dan's going to be there. So many people, and some of them mentioned in that article, are going to be there. The discussion, I may have to record it secretly. I'm not sure yet. Okay, everybody. We will see you next time, which will be Thursday, where we talk about other treasure hunts in the treasure hunting amusement park. Say bye, K-Pro.
Bye, K-Pro.
See you, everybody. And there it is. I think that sums it up pretty good.
So cute.
All right, we're out. Okay.